I'd appreciate it if people would take seats. We're about to start. Thank you. We're going to get started. It's 5 o'clock. We'd like to start on time. Kill the music. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'll begin today's meeting by asking Vice President Wayne Walker to make a general announcement for our guests.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. At every Board of Education meeting, a representative from the Deaf Hearing Communications Center is here to provide sign language interpretation of the proceedings, and we always express our gratitude. Representatives from the Office of Family and Community Engagement are stationed in the lobby with interpretation services. The proceedings of this meeting are being streamed live on the internet at www.philasd.org/live and can be seen on PSTV's Comcast Channel 52 and Verizon's Fios Channel 20. The proceedings are also being recorded by the School District of Philadelphia. The school district's recordings are protected by the copyright laws of the United States and may not be used in any manner without the express written consent of the school district. By participating in tonight's meetings, members of the public acknowledge that the school district may use its recordings for any purpose without obtaining permission or paying any compensation. Thank you very much for your attention and for being here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We'll start the meeting with a performance by a group of students from the Strawberry Mansion High School. They're the Strawberry Mansion Choir and are directed by Ben Perkins. And I understand it, this is an exciting time for them as this is their official restart of the choir. Welcome and please begin.
Being a student advocate for my school and coming out to numerous events to show people that Mansion is more than what they believe we are. We are continuing to break barriers and show the world that we have changed. We may not be the best school yet, but we are a better school than what we used to be. When the John Lennon bus came to our school, we created this song as another way for people to hear our voices. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
The sky is the limit, we already see sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. We out.
Well, congratulations on your restart. We look forward to having you back again. Thank you so much for being here this evening and performing for us. Let's give the Strawberry Mansion Choir another round of applause. Mr. McGinley.
I had no idea. Madam President, before we continue with tonight's roll call, I would like to mention that we have special guests from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association with us this evening. Several months ago, I, along with my colleagues on the board and the superintendent and the mayor, nominated our board president, Joyce Wilkerson, for the All Wine Society. We will learn more about this recognition in a moment, but this is a rarely bestowed honor for an exemplary board member across Pennsylvania who demonstrates a commitment to advance political action in support of public education. As the leader of the transition from the School Reform Commission back to a locally appointed Board of Education, there are few people more deserving of this distinction. And we are joined tonight by Nathan Maines, the CEO of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association. Mr. Maines, would you please come to the podium?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to just spend a couple of minutes with you this evening. I'm joined tonight by both a previous All Wine Society inductee, Mr. Mark Miller, and also by our president-elect, Dr. Art Levinowitz, who will be taking over as president of the organization come January of next year. Your introduction really stole all my thunder. So thrilled to be here tonight, thrilled to recognize an amazing advocate on behalf of public education. I know when the committee received the nomination last year, it didn't take more than a minute to say, wow, this is somebody deserving of being inducted into a society that has less than a dozen members as we sit here today. And it's been around for many years, but it's been the committee's been very careful over the years to only put in those folks who truly have been out there on the front lines every single day, tirelessly advocating for and fighting for children across Pennsylvania. The opportunity to come down tonight and recognize your board president, Joyce Wilkerson, is really my honor and my privilege. And on behalf of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, I want to thank all of you for the nomination and congratulate you on this tremendous honor. Welcome to the All Wine Society. And I was telling Joyce before I came up here tonight, this must be quite an award because this is the first time I've ever pulled out a plaque and they ship it with white gloves. So this is something I'm afraid to touch it now.
I know
It came with all this packing. It's just tremendous. So on behalf of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, we're pleased to present you both with this plaque recognizing your induction into the All Wine Society and this lapel pin, which we've only ever given out a couple of them, as I said, recognizing your membership in the All Wine Society. So congratulations. Yep, we'll get rid of the box here.
Thank you so much. This is quite an honor. The commitment I've been able to make to public education has been one of the high points of my professional career, and it's been a pleasure to work with the PSBA and all the work you do across the Commonwealth, so thank you. I also want to thank my colleagues on the Board of Education. We spend a lot of time together. It's been a joy to work with all of you. I appreciate your recommending me for this award. Dr. Height, thank you so much for the support, and thank you also to the mayor. It's quite an honor, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
And the gloves.
We'll begin tonight's, you don't have to stay for our meeting. I'm sure you've had your fill of board meetings over the years, so we appreciate your coming down, but please don't feel like you have to stay. We'll begin tonight's meeting with roll call. Ms. Rauch, please make an announcement about the board's executive committee meeting and then call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to announce that the Board of Education met in executive session on February 6, 2020, to discuss privileged, confidential, and quasi-judicial charter matters. The board also met in executive session earlier today to discuss privileged and confidential matters, information and strategy in connection with the following proceedings: Malka K. and Shalom K. versus School District of Philadelphia, ODR number 22279-18-19, a due process complaint seeking tuition reimbursement for special education student to attend a school in Lakewood, New Jersey. Next is CASA unit clarification request to the Pennsylvania Labor Relations Board, number PERA-U-19-24-E. The next is PFT versus School District of Philadelphia, Philadelphia County Court of Common Pleas, number 200-102-262. It's an action for mandatory injunction regarding environmental testing and remediation protocols. DeRusso versus School District of Philadelphia. This does not have a docket number, alleging asbestos exposure caused personal injury. Chester Community Charter School versus Chester Upland School District, Delaware County Court of Common Pleas, number CV-2012-009781. This matter involves a receivership and financial recovery plan for the Chester Upland School District. The last is School District of Philadelphia versus KIPP Philadelphia Charter School, number BBRM-03-2014-05. It's a challenge to the Pennsylvania Department of Education subsidy withholding for enrollment of students over a cap in a charter agreement. The board also discussed personnel and employment matters and expulsion matters. Now for the roll call, Ms. Danzy.
Present.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton.
Present.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
Present.
Mr. Huang.
Present.
Board member Dr. McColgan is absent tonight. Dr. McGinley.
Present.
Dr. McIver.
Present, and I also need to add that I will be leaving after the votes today.
Thank you. Vice President Walker.
Present.
President Wilkerson.
Present.
Dr. Height.
Present.
Ms. Ibrahim.
Present.
And Mr. Williams.
Present.
Thank you.
Board members, before we proceed, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 30th action meeting?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, board members. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The minutes are adopted. It's now time for our superintendent's remarks. Dr. Height.
Thank you, President Wilkerson, and congratulations to you once again.
Thank you.
I want to begin by providing an update around the district's environmental safety improvement plan that was launched in November. Since 80% of our buildings were built when the use of lead paint and asbestos was common, we know that there is significant work to be done to ensure our schools are safe, healthy, and vibrant learning spaces for students and staff. To this end, while we are making steady progress in many key areas, we also recognize that this is a complex issue that will take time and resources to fix. First, I'd like to talk about the inspections we are conducting in schools. We proactively had all principals and their facility area coordinators conduct visual inspections in every school before winter break. As a result of these inspections, 30 imminent hazards were identified in 21 schools. All of them have been repaired or remediated. AHERA inspections have also been improved to include hard-to-reach areas unoccupied by students and staff, including attics and crawl spaces. To date, we have completed AHERA inspections at 23 schools, with 34 imminent hazards identified in 10 schools. 33 of these hazards have been addressed. One area remains safely closed off to students and staff until repairs are made later this summer. Our other largest update is around the way we're identifying and vetting relocation sites when a temporary school relocation becomes necessary. Since we often get questions about what types of spaces are considered for relocation sites, our operations staff outlined the specific criteria we look for in these sites at the last Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Some of these include space, the accessibility by public transit and school buses, the availability to be ready by September 2020, and the ability to ensure student safety. We've also posted the full criteria on our website at philasd.org. We as a district want to make sure that we're looking into as many buildings that fit our specific criteria as possible and are looking to gather a list in the next few weeks. That's why we're asking any members of the public who know of a space meeting the criteria to contact us directly. You can email capitalprograms@philasd.org by March 5th with your recommendation. As a district, we remain committed to ensuring the environmental safety of our schools for every student, staff, and community member who steps foot in their buildings is safe. As a result, we will continue to provide updates on our environmental safety improvement plan and this important work in the coming months. Madam President, I would also like to remind everyone about our second annual Youth Summit taking place this year here at the Education Center on March 12th and 13th. The summit theme, RISE, stands for Rewrite, Inspire, Strength, and Engage. It was created last year by our students in response to a growing need for education about the opioid crisis. This year, the summit will focus on gun violence in our city and how it's impacting our communities and our youth. According to a recent study, at least 115 shooting victims in Philadelphia in 2019 were under the age of 18. This number is growing and too many of our children are impacted. The summit is open to students in grades 5 through 12 and will include student-led discussions, an anti-violence prevention resource fair, and plenary discussions with students who have been directly impacted by this growing public health crisis. The keynote speaker will be Jamara Burley, a native of West Philadelphia, who's also an internationally recognized speaker and social justice advocate. Last year's event was so enlightening for our students, and I know this year's summit will be equally impactful. We need our students' voices in this important conversation. I'm looking forward to the powerful discussions our students will be having around this topic when they meet next month. And I'm thankful to the various offices here at 440 and beyond that are working hard to ensure this event is a success for our students. We're also counting down the days until National Read Across America Day, which will be celebrated Monday, March 2nd. I'm excited to visit Comegys Elementary School in partnership with Wells Fargo to celebrate. I encourage everyone here to take the time to see how you can get involved in Read Across America Day activities at your neighborhood school. We know that access to quality early literacy experiences is tied to better social and emotional development and improved academic outcomes. That's why we as a district are proud of our significant investments around early literacy, including expanding our K-3 literacy model to grades 4 and 5, hiring more literacy coaches to support K-5 teaching, and providing classroom libraries for all 4th and 5th grade classrooms. While there's still much work to do to make sure our students are where they should be, we take the time this Monday to celebrate our successes thus far, and I hope everyone has a great National Read Across America Day. Madam President, I would also like to remind everyone that Tuesday, March 3rd, is kindergarten registration or kindergarten open house day. This is a day for parents of rising kindergartners to visit their neighborhood schools, learn more about what they and their students can expect from kindergarten, and even register for school. Parents should contact their neighborhood schools for more information about Kindergarten Open House Day. Children should be 5 years old by September 1st to be enrolled in kindergarten. We're continuing our Thrive at 5 campaign, which we launched last year, encouraging families to register their children. We know that early childhood education leads to higher high school graduation and college matriculation rates, improved achievement, attendance, and improved reading and math. This is why we are encouraging all families to register their children for kindergarten. Families can find more information on the district's website at phila.org/early childhood. I want to close by congratulating one of our district employees who was recently recognized with an award for her outstanding work. This individual is generally a regular attendee at the board meetings, but I'm not sure she is here this evening. Eileen Duffy Burnt of the Academy of Palumbo has been chosen to receive the School Nurse Excellent Award for the Philadelphia region of Pennsylvania for 2020. This is a peer-nominated award and entitles Eileen to be eligible for the prestigious National Association of School Nurses 2021 Pennsylvania School Nurse of the Year Award. I know Eileen will be honored at an awards banquet next month. On behalf of the School District of Philadelphia, congratulations to Eileen on her award, and we thank her for her exceptional commitment to our students and to the nursing profession. Madam President, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Height. Are there any questions for Dr. Height from board members or our student representatives? Thank you. Committee co-chairs, please provide a brief report on relevant items and action items discussed at your meetings. Additionally, Mr. Williams, please be prepared to provide your updates. We'll start with our Finance and Facilities Committee. Ms. Ahea Hinton, please share your committee report.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Our committee met on February 20th and received several reports from staff. We discussed action items listed on tonight's agenda, and we did hear public comment. First, I'd like to comment that we use the Facilities, Finance and Facilities Committee meeting as a way to monitor the environmental safety and improvement plan. So we started with Mr. Creedon, who's a consultant for the district, who gave us a variety of updates. What I won't do is repeat the ones that Dr. Height already provided, because it'll just make things longer. So I'm going to try to compress everything as much as I can. We did get an update on the strengthening, item number 1, which is the strengthening of the AHERA process, which the first part of that has been completed. The second round of those inspections will start in March. The item number 2, inspections have been completed at every school by the facilities area coordinator and principals. The See Something, Say Something campaign hotline is still in process, but we did request updates on that as this moves forward. Item number 4, which was also completed, was the training on asbestos risk identification, which we were happy that that has been done and it was completed in December. And we also focused on item number 5, which was expanding resources. The district is actively recruiting and hiring additional staff. In January, the board did approve 2 abatement firms who have begun the work, and we'll continue to monitor that process in our meeting. The other piece was item number 6, environmental consultant, JMT, was reviewing all current construction projects to ensure any needed environmental work is included in the overall scope of work. The other piece of that item was that they are hiring a program management firm to provide comprehensive project management, especially to make sure that we provide proper oversight for the $500 million that is targeted for the capital program. Contracts have been finalized with JMT since we approved we made the approval in January at the action meeting. The other item that is still being worked on is the establishing of the Environmental Advisory Board. We had a rather rigorous conversation about this particular item. The advisory board has not yet been formed, and we have requested in our committee meeting that that they continue to ensure that they're providing us communications as they continue to form this particular group. One point that came out of that was that any communications and information on our websites regarding the environmental safety work would be posted on the website, not only in a central location, but that they would be updated and more closer to real time if possible. Number 12, I'm skipped over a number of these, but number 12, relocation sites have already been mentioned by Dr. Height, and we'll continue to monitor that as they finalize and add on more sites. And that's on the environmental pieces. The second part of our committee meeting, we had two reports from Ori Munson, our Chief Financial Officer, that was related to district finances. Mr. Munson shared information on the district's efforts to appeal undervalued property assessments. Since 2016, there have been over 880 properties identified for appeal, out of which 450 appeal filings have resulted in negotiated settlements. This work has resulted in over $12 million of additional tax revenue for the district. Additionally, our committee asked Mr. Munson to provide us with information on charter school financing as it relates to the governor's budget. Earlier this month, Governor Wolf delivered his budget address in which he outlined the need for reform to the school charter law and outlined specific plans to reform portions of the charter school funding formula. Mr. Munson presented our committee with information on how this proposal, if adopted by legislators, would impact the district's budget. During this presentation, Mr. Munson shared some sobering facts about the impact of the current charter funding formula. In recent years, charter school costs are increasing faster than enrollment changes in charter schools. Nearly 51% of the new funding received by the district in the last 5 years has been driven to charter schools due to the state's formula. Meanwhile, charter schools serve 37.3% of the total enrollment. The increase in costs are driven by an increase in special education payments to charter schools. Special education identification is increasing 3 times faster in charter schools compared with the district. This is a concern because special education funding to charter schools is determined by a formula set by the charter school law rather than actual cost and spending. Based on population and average tier spend, the district estimated it sent charter payments of more than $51 million in excess of actual charter costs for special education students in fiscal year 2018. Meanwhile, the district continued to serve more special education students with high needs, which are tier 2 and 3, compared to charter schools. Governor Wolf's proposal addresses this inequity by applying the tiered special education fair funding formula to charter schools. This would mean that the payments made to charter schools for special education would more closely align with the actual cost of services received by students. According to the state, applying this formula would provide charter schools with the resources more closely aligned with district spending on special education while returning more than $90 million to the district. For these reasons, we're in clear support of the governor's proposal to close this funding loophole, and we'll be looking for ways to share more information about this critical issue. For more information on any of these reports, please review the materials from our meeting. Our next board meeting, next our board members discuss several action items that are being considered in tonight's agenda. Mr. Munson highlighted action item 21 and intermediate unit 1, as these are annual contracts various vendors for the use of Title I, II, and III grants for non-public schools. The district is required to make these payments to non-public schools with the Philadelphia students by federal law. Board members asked for more information on action item 17 and how it relates to previously approved contracts with the same vendor. Naomi White, Chief of Staff, shared that this contract will provide professional development training and coaching for staff in the operations department. If approved, the vendor will work with staff to problem-solve challenges among 10 processes across several operations functions in the district. Board members also raised questions on action item 25, contracts for classroom modernizations. Questions included whether the identified schools have been tested for environmental safety issues that may be pending. Additionally, board members asked whether these dollars and staff capacity should be used for other capital improvement projects that may arise. Finally, we heard public comments from several speakers on environmental safety concerns. the CSPR process, student achievement, and comments on action items 17, 24, 25, 28, and 49. We have asked district staff to reach out directly to individuals with responses to specific questions that were raised and not answered during our meeting. Full presentations are available with materials for our meeting on the board website. Our committee will hold its next meeting March 19th at 3 p.m. in the Board of Education Committee Room, Suite 101. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton. Are there any comments or questions for the Finance Committee? Seeing none, our next committee report will be from Student Achievement and Support Committee. Dr. McIver, please share your committee report.
Thank you. Our committee met on February 20th and received follow-ups to previously asked questions and 2 reports from staff. First, Larissa Chambeau, Chief Talent Officer, provided information on previously raised board questions on emergency certifications and hard-to-fill vacancies. Additionally, she provided information on action items 15 and 16, which are to be considered on tonight's agenda. Ms. Chambeau shared background information on the district's current partnership with these vendors and demographic and retention data on candidates that have been recruited through these vendors. Second, Dr. Tanya Wolford, Chief of Evaluation, Research, and Accountability, provided an update on the district's ESSA-designated schools. These are schools that have been designated based on 6 student performance accountability indicators required by ESSA or the state. Those are schools that have been designated based on 6 student performance accountability indicators required by ESSA or the state. They are academic achievement, academic growth, English learner progress, graduation rate, career readiness benchmark, and chronic absenteeism. The state has set statewide goals for each of these student performance indicators by 2030. The district is also reporting data on the following student subgroups: economically disadvantaged students, English learners, students with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness, and based on racial ethnicity. The ESSA legislation has created 3 categories of school designation: CSI, which is the comprehensive support and improvement. These are the lowest performing 5% of all Title I schools or any high school with a cohort graduation rate of 67% or less. ATSI, which is additionally targeted support and improvement. This is any school with a student group that has consistently underperformed on one or more of the indicators for CSI designation. Targeted support and improvement, TSI, any school with one or more student groups that performs below the established thresholds by the state. The district has submitted plans to the state to progress monitor and improve student performance outcomes for designated schools. Ms. Wolford provided an overview of the state-level supports that are provided to CSI-designated schools, which include school improvement facilitators and core team members and content specialists. These individuals will work with school leaders to monitor progress and provide guidance on evidence-based practices. The core team members and content specialists have not yet been hired by the state. The district is actively engaged in the school-wide planning process this spring, and final submissions will be made in June. Third, we heard information from Christina Grant, Chief of the Charter Schools Office, on the Charter School Office's review of the 2 new charter applications. Those are action items 5 and 6 on tonight's agenda. Our committee also discussed several action items that are on tonight's agenda. Those are board members asked for additional data related to the retention for those hired under previous contracts with the vendors in action items 15 and 16. Board members asked for more information on the scope of work for action item 17 and how it relates to previously approved contracts with the same vendor. Board members asked whether there is evidence that shows the impact of classroom modernization on K-2 literacy student performance in relation to action item 25, the contract for classroom modernizations. And finally, board members asked for more information on action item 45. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Savoy Brooks, Chief of Academic Supports, to come forward and provide this information.
Good evening. Malika Savoy Brooks, Chief Academic Officer for the School District of Philadelphia. Just talk about it. Okay, so the scope of work for the action item that involves school kit, I'm not quite, I think it's action item 45. The action item is for a certain amount of money so that it can support the academic support office in implementing professional development for 1,000 teachers and 1,000 leaders and 4,500 teachers. The scope of work will be working with members of the academic office in the development of the professional learning that is aligned to the 3 frameworks that we're working on, the ELA, K-3 ELA framework, the Math for K-12 framework, and the Culture and Identity Inclusive framework. So we're training all central office staff, instructional leaders at central office, instructional leaders in schools, school-based leaders, network leaders, assistant principals are included in the school-based leaders. They're all receiving training in June, and then out of those people who are being trained, 500 staff members will facilitate training to the 4,500 teachers when teachers return to school in August.
Level coaches that are providing the turnaround training or the trainer. They're the trainers that are being trained.
We're using school-based instructional leaders in addition to school-based staff that is in the academic office, yes.
So does that mean that we wouldn't have to do this next year because they're going to get the knowledge to be able to train the trainer, right, and turn around and teach?
Yes.
So they would do it next year without new training? So
Yes.
This is a one-time expense?
This is a one-time expense. This training is based on our frameworks, which is the focus of our work in the upcoming year. The ELA framework and the Math framework and the Culturally and Identity Inclusive framework. Well, we wanted to ensure first by training all the leaders that everyone is on the same page with the expectation. So there are various levels of professional development that has to happen from the leadership perspective. And then how do we as leaders support teachers? So that's another level of training that happens. And that's us from June through June.
And I just have one question. How close are we to having a K-12 math framework completed?
The draft is actually due to me on March 1st, which is March 2nd because it's Monday.
And will you be presenting that to the Student Achievement Committee? Will that be presented to can that be presented to Student Achievement Committee prior to the summer? Is
Yes.
that something we could do?
Or a
Okay.
briefing, or, yes.
Dr. Brooks, is the expenditure all for people coming in to do the training?
No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked that question. We are paying in this expense, I have to look at the action item, but I know the expense that we are carrying for the professional development. We have to pay teachers and staff that are 10-month employees. We do not have an expense for 12-month employees. And we're paying school kit, and then we're paying for materials and supplies that we need for the trainings.
And all of those costs are in this item?
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for this committee?
I just had one more.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions for Dr. Savoy Brooks.
I actually do have one more for Dr. Savoy Brooks.
Okay, go ahead.
If this action item weren't approved and this training would fall to the office who does the training as it exists, how many people are in that office?
That are able to
Roughly,
do the training?
that would be able to, like, yes,
About
do the training.
2025. So that's
For
why this,
for 1,000
yes,
to then turn
that's
around
why
to-
this is important.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to finish my report. Thank you, Dr. Savoy Brooks. My final point of my report, we heard from public comment on the comprehensive school planning review process, modified block schedules, and action items 5, 6, 15, 16, 32, 45, and 48. We have asked district staff to reach out directly to individuals with responses to specific questions that were raised and not answered during our meeting. Full presentations are available with materials of our meeting on the board website. Our committee will hold its next meeting on March 19th at 5 p.m. in the Board of Education Committee Room Suite 101. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McIver. Next, I'll share the report from the Policy Committee. The Policy Committee did not meet this month. However, Action Item 1 includes 11 draft policies reviewed by the committee in January and will be considered for final action next month. These are Policy 005 concerning meetings, Policy 222 tobacco products, alternative nicotine products, and vapor product use by students, 249 on bullying and cyberbullying, 317 on employee conduct and reporting requirements, 317.1 educator misconduct. This is being recommended for elimination. Policy 323 tobacco products and vapor and product use by employees, 802 school organization, 815.1 internet and media presence, 820 on ratifications, 903 on public participation in SRC meetings. This is also being recommended for elimination. And finally, Policy 1000 on grant management, compliance, and administration. Policy 317.1 on educator misconduct, and Policy 903, public participation, are being recommended for elimination as the relevant content of these policies has been updated and combined with other policies in our manual. The committee will hold its next meeting on March 5th at 5 p.m. in the Board of Education Committee Room, Suite 101. Draft policies to be reviewed at this meeting are now posted on our website. And thank you. This concludes my report. Next, we're going to hear from the District Partnership and Community Engagement Committee. Ms. Fix Lopez, please share your committee report.
Thank you. Every month we hear from a member of the Parent and Community Advisory Council. This month we will hear from Tony Rocco. Tony is a career educator in the city of Philadelphia with over 20 years experience. Tony is also the founder of Photography Without Borders, a program that aims to help engage and inspire youth through photography-based leadership and educational opportunities, allowing them to tell their stories to a wider audience. We would like to thank Tony for his service to our students, as well as the Advisory Council, and to invite him to give his remarks.
Good evening, President Wilkerson, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Height, and community stakeholders. My name is Tony Rocco. Tonight I come before you as an educator of over 20 years in Philadelphia and a representative of Kensington and North Philadelphia on the Parent and Community Advisory Council. I currently run a photography program for youth at 5 different locations in North Philadelphia. As a council, members have reported attending a total of 38 community meetings throughout the city. In addition to attending community meetings throughout the city, we as a council have also met with the Board of Education on February 13th to share with them feedback as well as community concerns, particularly regarding the environmental conditions currently taking place across the district. As a representative on the Advisory Council, much of my involvement has surrounded the charter renewal process for Olney High School and Stetson Middle School, schools run by Aspida, Pennsylvania. I helped ensure the parents and stakeholders were informed about the process and attended meetings and hearings so their voices could be heard. At the same time, I communicated the concerns of the school communities to the board, and although the ultimate decision that the board made was a disappointment to many of us in the community, I felt the board followed their process in making their decision. I've heard directly from parents, teachers, and stakeholders about their uncertainty, however, regarding the process going forward. It seems the district does not have a clear plan for transitioning the schools to their control and has not been clear about what the appeal process will affect this, of how the process will affect this. The information coming from Aspida has also been inconsistent, and this leaves students, parents, and teachers in a limbo of uncertainty. Some of my students at both schools tell me their parents are taking them out of the schools because they don't know what's going to happen. Teachers are also telling me they are looking at leaving the schools during the school year and not even waiting for the summer, also due to this uncertainty. Other issues of concern to parents and community members include the asbestos situation at Elkin and other local schools. Safety for students traveling to and from school is also a concern due to the growing number of homeless people and addicts in the Kensington community due to the opioid crisis. There's also concerns about how a safe injection site in the neighborhood could potentially make the situation even worse. I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to speak before you today and for allowing me to be a bridge between the board and North Philadelphia, the community I serve. I applaud the board for making the effort to become more transparent and improve communications with the community. Only by all of us working together can we continue to improve education for all the children of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rocco. So we appreciate your feedback and partnership in this work. And regarding your concerns with the transition, I'd like to ask Christina Grant, Chief of Charter Schools Office, to connect with you to discuss that. And once again, thank you for bringing this to our attention and helping us provide these important communications to our stakeholders.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Partnership Committee? Our next report will come from our student representatives. Mr. Williams, would you like to make a report at this meeting?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. This past month, Doha and I visited Baldy Middle School, Widener Memorial School, and the Philadelphia High School for Girls. We had an amazing time meeting with students and learning about their interests. We talked about many things. While at Baldy Middle School and Girls High, we received some great and very candid feedback from the students we spoke to. We learned a lot about what was going well and a lot about the areas of improvement they see for their schools that will make their educational experience a more successful one. Widener Memorial School is my personal favorite. If you are unaware of Widener Memorial School, it is a school that serves students with disabilities. The students were very inspiring and extremely kind. This was the first school that we went to and was given a tour. The students of Widener were very excited to tell us all about the activities that they hold throughout the year, like movie nights, ballroom dancing, and more. They told us that they wanted to utilize their outdoor track, but are unable to because it is damaged, and they are currently figuring out ways to fundraise for repairs. During our meeting, the biggest thing that students expressed was they felt very unseen. As this group is already underrepresented, this was upsetting to hear. Their biggest wish is to have some folks come to their school and be given a tour. They have an amazing gym, a beautiful swimming pool, and fantastic teachers that they are very proud of. If you would like to see a fantastic school full of fantastic people that exude pride, then Doha and I would highly recommend and encourage everyone to go to Widener. Thank you so much. If anyone would like to contact Doha and I, you can email us at studentboardrep@philasd.org or contact us on Instagram or Twitter at PHL Student Reps. This concludes my talking points for this month.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Williams? Ms. Ahaye-Hinton?
Hi. You mentioned in your report that there were a lot of things that were going well, and then there were some areas of improvement. Just can you think of or share what some of the improvements were?
Are you referring to Widener
Yeah.
Memorial School? They are just Widener, or like all three schools?
Well, actually, you said all of them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think they have had an opportunity
Yes.
to talk about some of the, the really candid insights they received with Dr. Height, and Dr. Height's going to be following up on specific items that were raised.
Thank
But
you.
I want to thank you for bringing the information back. They get a kind of feedback that we don't get here at the board, and so I appreciate the value that you bring and all the time and hard work that you put into to representing other students across the district. Are there any other questions for our student representatives? Hearing none, this brings us to the end of our reports. It's now time for our speakers. Next on our agenda is hearing from our student speakers who are here tonight and those who are registered to speak on action items we're considering this evening. We'll hear from speakers on general topics later in the agenda after we voted on tonight's business. Additionally, I'd like to acknowledge written testimony received from Susan DeJarnett, professor of Temple Law School, in opposition to action item 5, application for new charter school, High School of Health Science Leadership School. Robert Beretta, principal at Ziegler, and Anna Chirac, executive director at Teach for America, in support of action item 15, contract with Teach for America, and Dr. Elena Harper, dean at Relay, in support of action item 16, contract extension for teacher residency program providers. Ms. Rock, would you please share our speakers policy and then call up our first 5 speakers, please?
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank you for your input on school district matters and issues this evening, including those proposed for action tonight. To respect each speaker's time, We will be strictly enforcing the 3-minute time prompt. When the yellow light comes on, you have 30 seconds to wrap up your remarks, and when the red light comes on, your time is up. Student speakers, elected officials, and those speaking on action items are prioritized on the board's agenda. Anyone speaking on general topics will address the board after completion of its formal business. Up to 4 speakers will address the board on each topic. Written testimony submitted in advance of the start of this meeting will be included as part of the record of tonight's meeting. I'll be calling 5 speakers at a time to the front of the room to be seated in the front row, please. And would the first 5 speakers come up? Fayin Akinadi, Quan Johnson, Carol Kalimnik, Danica Neves, and Kabila Devine. And apologies again if I mispronounce names. Thank you. Fayin? Fayin? Thank you. You can come to the front and you can start. Thank you.
Dear Board of Education, in my advanced placement U.S. history class, we were learning about segregation, and my teacher made it a point to let us know that it is now illegal to hold segregated public or private services today. According to a publication in 2018, about 80% of educators in Pennsylvania are white, meaning that about 20% of teachers are teachers of color, with only 5.6% of them being black, and that number is gradually declining. In fact, more than half of schools within the state have only white teachers. So what was it we heard about segregation? The racial gap in the teaching staff has shown me that we need not look to history to study segregation alone. It is happening in our own backyard. Every time the school district helps to maintain these numbers, it is telling us that having a diverse teaching body makes no difference in the lives of students. It is telling us that black teachers are not beneficial. It is telling us a lie, because black teachers matter. Last year, my friend was harassed by a teacher because of her traditional head wrap. This year, another teacher ran his hand through another friend's Afrocentric hair. Both experiences still ring true for thousands of students across the school district. Black teachers matter because, 1, students of color like me deserve to sit in a class and not have to worry that the elements of our identity will be explored, questioned, subjugated, or gentrified. Black teachers matter because, 2, they are the cure to the school-to-prison pipeline system, a systematic cycle of undereducating non-white students and helping them supply the growing demand for incarceration. Most schools are preparing black students for incarceration, and black teachers have beat that system. So who better to teach you to fly than Superman? 3, black teachers matter because the numbers say so. According to the Hedgecock report, having a black teacher makes students of all races generally more involved in social justice and increases their chances for success as socially conscious citizens. Numbers have said it. Students have said it. Please listen to us. You cannot honor diversity without honoring diverse teachers, and you should not try to. It will fail. How do you teach students that our colorful world is beautiful if the standard of its teachers is a racial monochrome? How do you teach the importance of integration with segregation? You cannot. You cannot honor the many colors in our world if you make our classrooms just one color. Dear Board of Education, when you perpetuate this racial singularity, you are telling us that black teachers do not matter, but we do not believe you. Instead, we see that we do not matter enough for them to matter to you, and we slowly but surely lose our faith in you. Thank you for your time. My name is Fayin Akinodi.
Quan Johnson. Quan Johnson. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board, fellow Philadelphians. I'm here to advocate for Health Science Leadership Charter School because I'm unashamed about self-interest of my community. My family has lived in Philadelphia since 1940s, lived in North Philadelphia since the 1940s. I haven't lived in Philadelphia my whole life, but I've been living in Kensington, North Philly for the past 25 years. This is the nicest I've ever saw my city. And when I think about my family and my community, we're the ones that are going to be served by the opening of this charter school. So, like I said, I'm very unashamed about my community's self-interest because I have children. I got nephews and nieces and cousins and brothers and sisters, and we're all in 19133, 19132, 19124. These are the communities that Health Science Leadership Charter School is going to serve. And as a former preschool teacher, college student, professional, I'm aware of the transition that our city is undergoing. I see the construction all around and in the suburbs. I see the changes that are being undergone in our country. And I know that this is a new world. This is a new society that we're in. A lot of things are changing. A lot of the old rules don't apply. Go to school, get a 4-year degree is not necessarily going to guarantee you success in this world. But the one thing that I've noticed that's never going to change is certain skills. And knowing that folks are always going to get sick and folks are always going to need health care is very real to me. And when I see the young men standing on the corners in my community, generations of young men, like I said, I've lived in Philly at least half of my life, generations of young men standing on the corners, young women going to beauty school or going into the different aspects of society you're going to, I say, what's going to be a game changer? What is this next generation going to be able to do? I'm very unapologetically self-interested in the folks in my community. And so I'm putting the folks in our community's needs first, and I have no problem with that. I want these children, 10 years from now, the graduates of this high school, to be able to take my blood pressure, to be able to issue medications. I want them to have some skills. And this is the reason why I'm here to advocate for this school, because I want a future for the young folks in our community. Thank you.
Carol Klimnick.
Good evening. The local funder of the corporate disruption of public schools, the Philadelphia School Partnership, PSP, is the primary sponsor of the highly deficient High School of Health Sciences, HS2L, charter application that should absolutely be denied. PSP's growing influence in the district should concern everyone committed to public education. PSP has money that buys power and influence. The deceptive practices used with their HS2L charter school application has been an ongoing issue. Several years ago, PSP contacted a new neighborhood organization in Germantown about Philadelphia Hebrew Charter School and then listed the organization as a partner. The organization wrote to the SRC decrying that practice. PSP escalated that tactic with Kensington Health Sciences Academy, basically observing at the school and then inserted their observations into their present application. PSP also lied to 1199C Training and Upgrading Fund. When they included them in the application, 1199 told them to never use their name. Now we find out that PSP is among the 5 partners of School Kit, item 45. Since the district is allowed to post particles of information instead of a complete description, there's no specific information given about the contract. School Kit epitomizes corporate education full of slogans with no actual content. Their website offers business-like phrases such as, "We help you manage your organization change to improve student outcomes." It is difficult to find any knowledge of pedagogy behind their lofty promises of improvement. Why is School Kit being offered a contract for professional development? What criteria were used? How many turnaround trainings and building capacity of current staff needs to happen? There are already offices at 440 whose mission is to provide professional development. Is this administration saying their staff is not capable of doing this? The School Kit website is filled with promises and platitudes, but nothing about education. Deny item 45 and use the skills and experience of district staff. The board needs to show leadership and stop the flood of outsourcing favored by this administration. As we keep saying over and over again, look to the knowledge and experience of district staff, not to vendors. Thank you.
Danica Neves. Is Danica Neves here? Kabila Devine. Thank you. And could the next group please make your way to the front? Deborah Grill, Zoe Rooney, Lisa Haver, Amy Scallon, and Leandria Baltimore Hagan. Thank you.
Good evening. According to the Education Equality Index, Philadelphia has a massive academic achievement gap between low-income students and their wealthier peers. The United States Interagency Council on Homelessness states, education is a pathway filled with opportunity and long-term success for countless individuals. At the same time, the education system can hinder success, particularly in communities of color, where there are inequities across domains like academic achievement, disciplinary practices, and school investments. Lack of a high school diploma or GED is the highest risk factor for experiencing youth homelessness. And similarly, youth experiencing homelessness are much less likely to remain in school. The School District of Philadelphia can significantly improve educational opportunities for low-income children by focusing on its lowest performing schools, considering the experience and attendance of the educators within these schools, the amount of federal Title I funding available to and spent within each school, and the various services needed by students and their families. I reviewed the school progress report scores for a few schools in my North Philadelphia neighborhood: Gideon, Kelly, Kenderton, Pierce, and Still. Each had an overall score that ranged between 5% and 22%, and they were all in intervened status. None of the aforementioned schools had an achievement score higher than 10%. Title I is the largest program supporting elementary and secondary education in ESSA. It's also Congress's attempt to provide all children with the opportunity to receive a fair, equitable, and high-quality education and to close academic achievement gaps. Our schools play a very important role in raising poor students' self-esteem levels and disproving the stereotype that they cannot and or will not be academic achievers. During Dr. Height's first years in Philadelphia, he stated that a child's zip code would not prevent him or her from receiving a high-quality education. What happened to that? Because in my neighborhood, that's not the case. Who amongst you, board members, has the guts to hold district administrators accountable for ensuring that our most vulnerable students receive resources equitably? Who amongst you is ensuring that millions of Title I dollars are being used to improve the academic performance of low-income, low-performing students? Nelson Mandela said that poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the action of human beings. Who amongst you will take the action required to ensure that low-income, low-performing children are taught the way that they learn as opposed to the way that you teach?
Deborah Grill.
Good evening. At last week's Student Achievement and Support Committee meeting, CFO Yuri Munson focused on the funds the district loses due to overpayments to charter schools for special ed students. Tonight, I'd like to look at overpayments for charter school CEOs. What does a charter school CEO do? I'm actually not sure. I believe they probably oversee the finances and services of the school or schools they supervise, similar to what Dr. Height does. So let's look at a few salaries and make a comparison. Franklin Town CEO was paid $238,628 for 2 schools. That comes to $119,314 per school. Dr. Height supervises 215 district schools. If Dr. Height were paid accordingly, his salary would come to $25.6 million. First Philadelphia Preparatory Charter CEO, whose school was recently featured in an article concerning budget problems, possibly related to identification of special ed students, and who is now on leave, earns $182,261. Again, if Dr. Height were paid at that rate, he'd be making a little over $39 million. The CEO of String Theory Schools is paid $208,161 to manage a system of 2 schools, a salary that has tripled over the course of 5 years if you look at the 990s. If Dr. Height were paid at that same rate, he'd be making $22.3 million. String Theory's 2 schools have their own CEOs who are paid $111,250,000 and $88,000 apiece. Interestingly, the former CEO of their Edmonds campus was paid $264,000 the year she resigned to form her own consulting company, which lists String Theory's Philadelphia Performing Arts School, as well as First Philadelphia Charter School for Literacy, now called First Philadelphia Preparatory Charter School, as clients. I don't have time to go down that rabbit hole, but I'll be doing a little more research and get back to you on that. Of course, we can only guess at what the Health Sciences Leadership Charter School CEO would make. I imagine it would be a generous sum. After all, the founding coalition of a school whose program was formulated through deception would have no qualms about paying their CEOs so generously. There are already 87 charter schools in Philadelphia. The district can't afford to contribute to another charter school CEO salary without further cutting resources for students in district-managed schools. Please vote no on these 2 applications. Thank you.
Zoe Rooney.
Hello, my name is Zoe Rooney. I'm a parent and an educator here in the district. I'm here tonight to speak about action item 45, which is a $2 million contract for an outside company to come in and co-create and co-facilitate professional development. This proposed expenditure is tied to a plan for creating an equitable system of supports for student success. At the committee meeting, there was a presentation about this with a list of expectations for curriculum, which included a lot of the standard things like standards alignment and alignment of instructional strategies. A couple of things in that list that stood out to me, though, were cultural and identity-inclusive teaching practices and yielding positive outcomes for students and honoring professional knowledge of teachers. These things struck me because they are great concepts, just like equity, that word that we keep seeing across district materials. However, this contract, all of the proposed consulting contracts, and so many other actions this district takes show that those words are mostly lip service. What we see in actions shows that those are still, for this district, only words. We really need to look closely at the way the mandates and frameworks are implemented across the district, or rather, not across the district, at least not equally. So many of these mandates and turnaround trainings are things that come down on those of us in neighborhood high schools, but from which special admission schools are exempt. I want to be really careful and intentional about how I talk about this, because it is really important to me that my students, some of whom performed earlier tonight, recognize that they are just as valuable, capable, and important as every other student in this district and city. And I think that message can get confused when we talk about these inequities. Those schools are exempt because they are high achieving, but those schools are high achieving because they select for high achieving students. They have better attendance rates, but that's because they select for good attendance. What kind of equity is that, where autonomy is given based on criteria for which some schools can select? I can tell you it's no kind of equity at all. My students internalize a lot of messages about their value and worth and what they deserve based on those inequities, which they are very aware of. Those messages are indicators of the failures of adults, and adults in this room, not the failures of children. We are failing them when we rate schools using SPR scores that are designed in a way that penalizes schools like Strawberry Mansion High School for things that are outside of our control. Did you know that a student who is incarcerated at the Juvenile Justice Center could count against our retention rate? Did you know that schools with CTE programs don't get any credit in the matriculation category for students who go right into the workforce with the certification they've earned in high school? Those are just two of the many problems with these metrics. We are failing our students when we use words like cultural and identity inclusive or positive outcomes, but we act based on test scores rather than on what those of us who work with the kids every day know that they really, really need as human beings. We are failing them when we spend millions of dollars on contractors, including $2 million on professional development, to pass along more mandates and requirements rather than on safe buildings, certified school librarians, smaller class sizes, social workers, and school counselors. We're failing them.
Lisa Haver.
Good evening. I'm going to be one of the public speakers and APS members who's again urging the board to deny both charter applications. I'm one of the members who went to all the hearings, looked at the charter school office report, wrote an analysis, and I hope you got a chance to read that. You know, besides the inadequacy of the application, there's been well-documented corruption. Let me rephrase that because I'm not putting that on the start of my sentence over. There's been well-documented corruption in the charter sector for years. Recently, Universal Charters administrators and the elected officials associated with them were indicted. And when you look at the fraudulent actions of the HS2L applicants, which have been reported on and written about several times over the past couple months, including what I think could safely be called theft of intellectual property, a vote to approve that would represent approval of these tactics for future applicants. The diversion of public money into privately run schools with little oversight has cost us a great deal over the past 20 years. Board members heard from the Chief Financial Officer last week in the committee how charters are able to game the system with special education funding. Tonight, the board will vote to approve a settlement with a district teacher who is sick and dying because of the willful neglect of district officials over the years. While the SRC was voting year after year to divert public money to private investors, buildings were allowed to deteriorate and children and adults were subject to toxic substance. And I just want to put an end to this narrative like, well, you know, we didn't really know about it. Maybe the people in this room maybe didn't know about it, but people in the district knew about it. And when you pass something that's called a doomsday budget, you know, the doomsday has come now for that teacher who you're voting on a settlement for tonight, and for many, many, many to come. You know, let's just not talk about who knew and who didn't know. Let's talk about what the money was spent on and what it should have been spent on. And, you know, again, I want to say, as I did last week, that the district really should cut ties with Teach for America. Teach for America is not some, like, feel-good charitable organization. They've been the lifeblood of the corporate education disruption of public education. It doesn't really make any sense to say we're going to bring in great teachers by extending a contract with Teach for America because they're not teachers, they're not trained, and they have no experience. So I had a lot more to say, but I think that it's important if the board wants to change direction and change the status quo, you know, to just reject a lot of the contracts that are up for a vote tonight. Thank you.
Amy Scanlon. I'm sorry, Amy Scallon, not Scallon, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to express our appreciation for the continued university partnership with the School District of Philadelphia Teacher Residency Program. My name is Amy Scallon. I'm the director of the Temple Teacher Residency Program. Teaching residencies generally show strong and positive results, including recruiting a teaching force that has demographics more similar to the district population and with increased teacher retention. Temple Teacher Residency specifically does this through intentional diversity recruitment, a cohort model so residents support each other during their training year and into their teaching years, close integration of residents' daily work in schools and university coursework, and 2 years of post-graduation support that is done in conjunction with the district support. Temple's College of Education has a long history of collaboration with the district and supplies a significant number of teachers each year to the region. We are deeply committed to our partnership with the district and the schools that we work with. This can be seen in how our host principals talk about our partnership. Here's a recent email from one of our host principals to the SDP teacher residency. We truly value our partnership with Temple. I would love to see more schools of education adopt this model for teacher prep, as it gives new teachers the view of the full scope of a school year, and I think they are more prepared to enter their first year of teaching than their non-residency counterparts. In 2014, we received a federal grant to develop a residency program. We created a 12-month master's and certification program to recruit people with strong STEM backgrounds and to support them in becoming STEM teachers, to intentionally meet the district's need and request for middle school STEM teachers. Many of our residents come to us with a vast array of career experience in math, science, and engineering fields, and with math, science, and engineering degrees. These are our 4 pillars that shape our residency model. Recruiting residents who come into our program with strong STEM content knowledge and engaging them in clinically based teacher preparation. By working with experienced educators and students within district classrooms, we equip residents with research-based practices, strategies, and practical knowledge and experience to effectively teach that content. One of our high school mentor teachers recently emailed me and expressed this by saying, "This is my second year as a mentor with the Temple Residency Program. Both of my residents I have partnered with come with a strong background in the engineering field. This mentor-mentee interactive process has richly benefited our classroom strategies and best practices, as it has opened the door for us to extract and apply STEM approaches. Consequently, this dynamic interaction has brought to life content knowledge as our students recognize and experience real-life applications." The next pillar is partnerships. We work to develop deep partnership among program faculty and staff, university coaches, mentor teachers, and school leaders. We guide students in ongoing reflection, explore the connections between course content and what we see in their overall experiences in their school sites. I'm running out of time. Lastly is our development orientation. Our year-long, okay, I guess I have to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Leandria Baltimore-Hagan, please. And could the next group of 5, I'm going to call your names, please make your way to the front. Kelly Judge, Maddie Lupert, Akira Rodriguez, Persia Ali, and Linda Rubin. Thank you. You can start.
Hello, board members. My name is Leandria Baltimore-Hagan, and I'm the proud principal of Blankenburg Elementary School in West Philadelphia. I am also a 2003 Teach for America Greater Philadelphia Corps member. I stayed in the district for the last 17 years. I am here today to voice my support for the continued partnership between the School District of Philadelphia and Teach for America. I want you to see me as a driven leader with outcomes and increased achievement for students in Philadelphia as my #1 goal, and I want you to know that we indeed stay beyond the 2-year commitment and the tremendous impact that we make every day in classrooms. And I will speak today about my personal testimony and experiences and how we as Teach for America Corps members go above and beyond the call of duty. 17 years ago to the day, I was graduating from college in Louisville, Kentucky, and about to take the law school entrance exams with hopes of opening a law firm with my twin sister. But I had a dream one night that altered my life. I had a dream that I was teaching kids. The dream was so intensely heavy on my heart that my friend told me about Teach for America on her campus. They said that year 18,000 applicants were expected to apply and 1,600 would make it. I made it. I student taught in Los Angeles off of Compton Street, and later that summer I left my family, my twin, my big Sunday family dinners, my college friends, and my land of familiar and comfort to move to Philadelphia to impact lives. I taught 3 years in South Philadelphia at Barrett Middle School. I taught and coached 10 years at Morton Elementary in Southwest, became an assistant principal at Bryant, and now I'm in my 3rd year as principal at Rudolph Blankenburg. As a result of my teaching and leadership, 15,000 students have been impacted. Every year, as a teacher, all of my scholars made at least 1.5 years worth of growth in reading, mastered at least 80% of grade level standards. 1 year while teaching, I had 23 English language learners in my class of 35, and all 23 met their ELL state targets. This work was possible because of my TFA professional development and experiences. Every day in the mornings with my scholars in the breakfast room, I had my higher scholars go over sight words and sound flashcards with lower performing students before the school day started. I had after-school tutoring programs. I met with kids on the weekends with their parents, created raps with hip-hop beats to engage students, to engage the scholars in the content, took my scholars to the White House. I had chance for everything. I showed my scholars, I talked to them about my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, and how my mother graduated with Muhammad Ali. I was a cheerleading coach, coordinated the 5th grade spelling bee where a scholar won the actual 5th grade bee, coordinated volunteer efforts with over 600 Wells Fargo and City Year employees. My school, and also as a coach and building administrator, I've coached over 1,300 teachers and climate staff. As a coach, we met Safe Harbor. If this contract is not approved, we will lose the irreplaceable teachers like myself. Thank you.
Kelly Judge.
Hi, hello. My name is Kelly Judge, and I'm alumna of Teach for America Greater Philadelphia 2014. I am currently an 8th grade social studies teacher at Amy Northwest Middle School in the Philadelphia School District. I'm also my building's PFT building representative. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was one of the first in my family to attend college at the University of Scranton. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in middle level education. I also received my master's plus 60 from Westchester University in special education. To say that Teach for America and my role as an educator changed my life is an absolute understatement. I received countless coaching and individualization from my mentors at Teach for America. My coach was physically in my classroom twice a week for 2 years. She taught me not only how to lesson plan, but design curriculum from scratch, manage a classroom, and also learn how to maintain a work-life balance. Teach for America pushed me every day and provided me the individualized attention that not any other first-year teacher that I have met outside of the Corps has ever received. As an individual that went to college for education and was already a certified teacher, I did not need to join the Corps. I chose Teach for America due to the simple fact that I would be surrounded by fellow educators who shared the same passion for providing a meaningful education to all students in Philadelphia. If I simply joined the regular teaching workforce, I do not think I would have received the constant and needed one-on-one coaching that is vital in developing a quality educator. Without teacher training programs like TFA, new teachers may not be provided the daily support and leadership skills that are necessary in developing our students in Philadelphia. Because of Teach for America, the Corps has provided me with the foundation to produce successful and happy children. Hello, Amir, I taught him. I feel proud to state that I am a successful and strong educator in the School District of Philadelphia due to my training from Teach for America. There are countless new educators that want to join Philadelphia's TFA program and to be placed in our district. I encourage the School District of Philadelphia to provide them with this opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Maddie Lupert.
Good evening, Dr. Height and members of the school board. I'm Maddie Lubert, an English teacher at Kensington Health Sciences Academy, a PFT member, a member of the Caucus of Working Educators, and a 19133 resident. Tonight, I ask the board to vote against the proposed charter for the High School of Health Science Leadership. I'm not sure where to start with this testimony. I could retell the story of Philadelphia School Partnership visiting my school to plagiarize our mission and vision, which we've cultivated for years. I could argue that sinking money into a new school would divert funds from dealing with our environmental crisis. I could express my concern that a new charter school would not properly serve English learners and students with IEPs. I could implore you to recognize our existing successful CTE programs. But I don't need to do any of that. By all accounts, the folks behind HS2L submitted a below basic application. Perhaps the applicants thought they could just buy a new school. I'd like to thank APS for their commitment to publicizing these issues. Since I could not attend the application hearing in January since it was on 2 p.m. on a school day, I read the detailed reporting from APS. I don't need to tell you how subpar this application is because the school district's charter school office and our watchdogs have already done so. Over the last 4 years as a neighborhood school teacher, I've had deep conversations about increasing rigor in our curriculum and making sure students are ready for college and career upon graduation. After walkthroughs, teachers are critiqued by their ability to teach with urgency from bell to bell, which completely glosses over the educational experiences our students bring with them, as well as the contributing factors that demonstrate how rigor for rigor's sake is not the best choice for our students. I say this to ask the district to walk it like they talk it and demand rigor from all schools from their inception onward. In fact, if we are going to pour our resources into a new charter school, we should demand a perfect application that describes the necessity of an innovative school with clarity. We have not seen that from HS2L. As an educator, I would not even accept this work as is. I'd have my student finish the assignment and review it with the rubric before turning it in. We've told you many times how KHSA, along with our sibling schools with CTE programming, are already providing innovative, supportive, high-quality education for our students. Please deny HS2L and consider the ways we can strengthen our existing neighborhood high schools and CTE programs.
Thank you. Akira Rodriguez? Is Akira Rodriguez here? Okay, Persia Ali?
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Persia Ali, and I was informed that the school district might not want to continue their partnership with Teach for America. To this, I have to ask why. Why would you not want to continue a partnership with an organization that helps recruit and retain talent in high-need schools? Why would you not want to work with a group that fills vacancies for hard-to-staff areas like SPED, math, and science? Why would you not want to maintain a relationship with an organization that hires teachers who build relationships with their students, families, and the community? Why would you not want to work with an organization that honors diversity and has over 50% of their members that identify as a person of color? I can tell you about the impact Teach for America has had on the school district firsthand because Teach for America hired me in 2016 and I've been with the district ever since. I didn't go to school to become a teacher. I had no experience, no certifications. I had no idea how to get into teaching without any of those qualifications. See, I made a career change in my 30s when I found out I was going to be a mom and came across Teach for America. It's a program that's not just for traditional 21-year-olds right out of college or education majors. It's for anyone who wants to and believes they can make a change in the education system. Teach for America was the integral and driving force that allowed me to not only become a teacher, but become a teacher in the Philadelphia School District, the city that I was born and raised in, and I am proud to pay it forward. I was assigned to teach special education. SPED positions are some of the hardest to fill, but yet the most sought after. While teaching in special education has definitely had its challenges, it's been one of the more rewarding experiences I have had. And prior to TFA placing me at the school I'm in now, the special education English position had been filled by a substitute the entire year previously. TFA requires a 2-year commitment, but even after the 2 years was up, I wanted to continue to teach at the school I was placed at, which is Overbrook High School. I am a proud Overbrook Panther, and in the time I've been there, I've planned over 18 college trips. I partnered with the 76ers to do career and college summits. In addition to being just a teacher, teachers, we act as their moms, their counselors, their social workers. We open their doors and have a safe space for these children, and they need us. Now I'm in my 4th year teaching, and I wouldn't have been here had it not been for Teach for America. They took a chance on me, and I'm asking that you continue to do the same with them. They also took a chance on 3 other TFA teachers who are still currently at my school. We all work cohesively and as a unit, and that's because Teach for America gave us the tools we need to succeed. Teaching is a field that always seems to have a plethora of vacancies, but by continuing your relationship with TFA, recruitment is one less thing you have to worry about. Please don't take away something that has produced teachers that make a positive impact on the lives of our kids daily, because if you did, that would be placing a void in an industry that needs to unite and not divide. I'm asking that you please continue the partnership because they produce great teachers, and I should know because I'm one of them. Thank you.
Linda Rubin, please come to the table, and with the next 5 speakers, please come to the front. Diane Payne, Rachel Beauchene, Sylvia Sims, Aileen Tejeda, and Zachary Wright. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to talk against items 15 and 16, but first I want to speak loud and clear that this board should deny the new applications of High School for Health and Science Leadership and String Theory's Joan Myers Brown Academy on 1, the gross deficiencies of their applications, but also because this school district cannot afford to allow any more charters to bleed us dry, and in the case of health and sciences, cannibalize one of our own CTE schools, KHSA, in concert with PSP, I might add. They have not provided any concrete plans for their program besides being in meetings with enthusiastic heads of universities that impress Mr. Matheny so much. String theory wants us to believe that String Theory Schools is only hired management, not actually in charge of this school, because you in the media have already caught them flat-footed with, among other things, using district money from students to support their risky expansion of real estate empire to be. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Just don't do it. District schools have a right to live, too. Not only do our schools have a right to live, but our district students have a right to be educated by teachers actually versed in educational principles and pedagogy. TFA and Relay may be populating their schools, their charter schools, because they are businesses and want employees on the cheap. Charters believe that teachers are just the vessel because that's the job of their packaged curricular programs. Now, I'm not saying all TFA or Relay teachers don't care and don't have talents. I'm saying that they aren't provided with the depth of an instructional program based on child development stages and how they impact learning, such as Temple, Drexel, and Penn. I'm also frustrated because so many of us have been here so many times before saying the same things. We've been told it's a temporary stopgap measure, but it's one that never stops. The SRC has said that they want to make cuts in salaries, programs, instructional supports, and yes, ongoing building maintenance because of fiscal constraints. How'd that work out for you? These are all supposed to come back because everyone knows our students need them and deserve to have them. With the advent of the board, we had hope. But you can't keep hiring temporary instructional staff from Plan B and expect better long-term teaching and learning. You say TFA and Relay supply teachers of color and teachers who'd stay longer. But at the last student achievement meeting, we learned that for the first 2 years, the numbers are up. But by 5 years, the numbers of TFA and Relay retentions drop precipitously, more than other recruited teachers. And you're still not investing in this district by building long-term core instructional staff in schools and knowledgeable in-house systems to support them and help them grow. You want to know what will keep teachers in this system? Being valued and supported on a daily basis, not feeling like they're on a treadmill, being watched by administrators because teachers are the problem instead of being a respected part of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe Diane Payne's here. She's submitted written testimony on action items 15, 16, 17, 44, and 45, and we'll include that in the record. Our next speaker is Rachel Beauchamp.
My name is Rachel Beauchamp, and I'm a third grade teacher at McClure Elementary. I'm a third grade teacher at McClure Elementary School. I'm here to speak tonight on action item 48, specifically the amendment to the McClure academic calendar. As the board is well aware, our school was closed twice due to damaged asbestos. While our school staff requested relocation early and often throughout our month-long crisis, these calls went unanswered, and the School District of Philadelphia chose not to create a contingency plan to relocate our students. The effect of this negligence was that our students missed out on 15 days of instruction. While I wholeheartedly agree that our students deserve this instruction, I do not believe that the teachers and staff of McClure should be punished by being forced to work over our scheduled spring break. The dangerous and unhealthy conditions at McClure were found by the school staff, who know our building better than anyone. We basically live there. I have grave concerns about the future of similarly hazardous conditions being reported by other teachers at other schools if there's a fear that they will lose vacations if the district fails to create a relocation plan for their community. We cannot allow the fear that others might be put in the same situation in which McClure finds ourselves today to inhibit the reporting of hazards in our schools. Our staff has remained solutions-oriented, having meetings with district officials and offering alternatives and suggestions. In return, we were fed false information about the waiver requested, and then repeatedly pushed to the side for over a week when we have followed up. When we finally did get an answer, none of our suggestions or alternatives were addressed. Instead, we were simply told that the district has decided to move forward with their initial plan. We keep hearing that the district is working to rebuild our trust, yet every action taken proves quite the opposite. Honestly, this problem is so much bigger than this school's schedule change, and it's bigger than McClure. Framed in a larger conversation of teacher recruitment and retention, the lack of respect the district has shown for school staff is astounding. How can we ever expect to attract and hold on to amazing teachers when we treat them as if they don't matter? The School District of Philadelphia relies on us, the teachers and the staff. Without us, the people who educate and care for our students day in and day out, nothing else matters. It all falls apart. Yet we're not treated like the integral foundation of the district that we are. Instead, we're treated as second-class citizens with no voice, no say-so, and no power. And if and when we do find our voices and stand up for the well-being of ourselves and our students, as the staff at McClure has done, we're punished, lied to, ignored, and manipulated. And our only resource, our only chance at being granted the respect and dignity that we deserve is to turn to you, the school board, and request to be treated fairly. I urge the school board to stand on the side of respect for our educators and staff, to stand with us in saying that blameless people should not be punished for the mistakes of those in power. And I urge you to vote no to the ratification of the amendments to the McClure calendar. Thank you.
Sylvia Sims.
Good evening, students, families, community members, school board members, and Dr. Height. My name is Sylvia P. Sims, and it hurt my heart to have to sit here before you tonight. As I tried to navigate the district's website, I came across things as your mission statement, your vision, your core values, which read, your mission. The School District of Philadelphia will deliver on the civil right of every child in Philadelphia to an academic public school education to ensure all children graduate from high school ready to succeed. Fully engaged as a citizen of our world, really. How many children are graduating from the district ready for the world? Your vision. Your vision is for all children to have access to a great school close to where they live. Where we live, and I know other families feel this too, there is not a good school close to where they live. What are you going to do about that? Then there's your core value. One is parents and families are your partners. We believe these partnerships can be transformative for everyone. Again, really? How can you say that when you don't have conversations with the parents or the community that you're serving? And you keep us in the dark at the end of the day and about our children, and you are doing a disservice to them, and you have been doing this for generations. When are you going to take actions for what you're doing to our children? Folks want to help, but they can only help if you reach out to them. The same old, same old. When you learn, if you continue to do the same things, you will get the same results. Failing schools and communities that are not engaged. Thank you.
Thank you. Aileen Tahita.
Good evening. My name is Eileen Tejeda, and I'm the director of the residency at Relay. In my role, I have the privilege of instructing, training, and supporting new teachers entering the profession. I can't underestimate the power of a residency as a pathway into teaching. At a time when we're struggling to attract and retain new teachers, especially teachers who reflect the diverse identities of our students, our residency provides an accessible and affordable avenue to enter the profession. We know that residencies attract a more diverse group of potential teachers. Approximately 55% of Relay's first 3 cohorts identify as teachers of color. We also know that cost remains a prohibitive barrier to entering the profession. Through the combination of a district-provided stipend and Relay residency scholarships, we're able to ensure that Relay residents do not incur any out-of-pocket costs by pursuing the residency. As an approved certification program in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and at the conclusion of their residency year, students are eligible for their instructional level 1 certificate. While I could continue with additional statistics that speak to the benefits of a residency, I believe it's best illustrated by stories of those who experienced it firsthand. Last year, I was fortunate to work with a resident, Ashley. She was placed at H.A. Brown, a school we have collaborated with since our inaugural cohort. I saw firsthand the advantages of a gradual on-ramp for Ashley. She had a dedicated year-long opportunity to reflect on her practice, her biases, and her relationships with students and families. In our weekly deliberate practice sessions, she would learn new content strategies with her peers and immediately implement them in small groups in her classroom. She was paired with a veteran mentor teacher whom she had the opportunity to observe and get feedback from daily. As the year progressed, Ashley took on more responsibility into the classroom until she was teaching full lessons. One of the best parts of my job is seeing the joy residents feel when they receive a full-time offer from the district in the spring. Ashley was offered a full-time role at her placement school, where she's still teaching, and her growth has continued. She is infusing culturally responsive practices into her lessons and has developed a safe and inclusive space for all learners. Additionally, Ashley is also able to provide peer support for current residents at her school, and hopefully one day she'll be a mentor too. The power of the residency pipeline is palpable in our partner schools. As the district continues to put an emphasis on recruiting and retaining diverse, highly effective teachers, it's imperative that they have a residency as a tool to do so. We're counting on your support this evening to continue making sure that people like Ashley find a home teaching at the School District of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you. Would Zachary Wright please come to the front, and the next group, please make your way up. Barry Wilkins, Tim Matheny, Monica Ricci, Ginger McHugh, and Erica Zimmer. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. As a Philly educator of almost 15 years in private, district, and charter schools, and a 2013 Philadelphia Outstanding Teacher of the Year, and now a teacher educator, I have had the opportunity to observe the state of public education from a teacher's perspective for a long time. And what I've seen, as I'm sure you'll agree, is worrisome. Plagued by statewide shortage of teachers and the nation's most severe shortage of teachers of color, Pennsylvania needs to do more for its students. Fortunately, the Commonwealth and the School District of Philadelphia are already taking major steps to address these issues through their Aspiring to Educate pilot with PDE and the Center for Black Educator Development. Additionally, continued support of the district's residency program, which attracts a more diverse pool of potential teachers, helps ensure that all students have high-quality educators in front of them every day. When it comes to how well we're preparing our teachers for Philadelphia's classrooms, last year's William Penn Foundation report revealed the following. 72% of teachers felt unprepared to work in an urban classroom. This gave us pause then and should continue to give us pause now. Nearly 3/4 of teachers self-reported themselves as unprepared to teach in Philly public schools. That's the challenge before us, and the way forward is clear. We can address teacher turnover, improve retention, and continue to diversify Philly's teacher pipeline by preparing our teachers for Philadelphia's classrooms through rigorous residency programs that couple pedagogical theory with ample opportunities for practice. We can widen the accessibility to our teacher preparatory programs by removing prohibitive costs and ensuring that students we attract are supported with rigorous residency programs. We can no longer just place young teachers into classrooms and expect them to be effective and stay without adequate support. It's not only unfair to the teachers that we want to retain, but frankly, it is unjust to the students and families who work with these teachers who lack the preparation that we can and should provide them. We need to guide our teachers to learn about the children and the communities they will serve in order that they do so with compassion, knowledge, and humility. We need to transcend politics and misconceptions in order to empower our teachers so that their classrooms become places of anti-racism, equity, and liberation. Our teachers need it, our students need it, and our city needs it, and we at Relay, in partnership with the district, our residency colleagues, and our district school partners, are ready to build on the work that we've already accomplished so far. Thank you.
Barry Wilkins.
On behalf of Barry Wilkins, my name is Alex Jones. I'm the Senior Managing Director at Teach for America, and I've been asked to share his story. I'm a STEM educator at Strawberry Mansion High School. I have the honor and privilege of teaching the students there Algebra 2, Geometry, and Personal Finance. I am here today to testify in support of TFA and the renewal of their contract with the School District of Philadelphia. But first, allow me to share a bit about my background with you. I'm a lifelong Philadelphia native. I was born and raised in West Oak Lane section of Philadelphia, a predominantly working class community about 30 minutes away from where we are now. I'm a graduate of Central High School and belong to the 254th graduating class. I hold a BS in economics from the University of Pittsburgh and MBA from nearby LaSalle University. I am currently pursuing a master's in urban education from the University of Pennsylvania and expect to graduate next May. Before becoming an educator, I worked in investment banking and wealth management for over 15 years. In that time, I worked with some of the most profitable companies and the wealthiest families in the country. I did really well for myself, but I measure true success by how the least among us are faring. I also care deeply about my city, so deeply, in fact, that I left banking to pursue a career in education to help solve the problem of poverty in this great city. The best solution to poverty is a job that pays well, and you will not find one without proper educational attainment. Employers are looking for individuals with quantifiable skills, problem solving, and critical thinking skills to be exact. They also want folks that display the proper attitude and ability to collaborate with others. In my daily practice as a math educator, I help students hone those skills, and I wouldn't be in a position to do that if not for my relationship with TFA. Before pivoting into education, I knew it would be important to connect with an organization that could provide a well-defined pathway into education. I needed a partner that could provide me with rigorous teacher training needed to join the fight for education equity immediately. TFA has done this and so much more. I can leverage the TFA network, support systems, and relationships to better hone my skills as a first-year teacher. I'm also surrounded by a diverse community of leaders fighting to ensure all children receive the quality education they deserve. For 30-plus years, TFA has been leading the charge to connect talented, passionate educators with marginalized communities across all of America. I am proud to be a member of TFA, and I believe the future for TFA is bright.
Thank you. Tim Matheny.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to focus on the truly compelling need for the High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter School. Health Sciences Leadership proposes an innovative STEM-focused design with an extensive array of academic and social emotional supports. The school pledges to ensure that all students, not just a select few, participate in internships, job shadowing, and mentoring in healthcare settings beginning in 9th grade. Health Sciences Leadership will be a citywide admission school with no academic requirements and a lottery preference for 4 North Philly zip codes. In neighborhoods that the school will serve, like Hunting Park, Franklinville, and Tioga, the typical family subsists on a median household income of $20,000 a year. That's $20,000 for an entire family. Through workplace learning, college classes, strong connections to Drexel, Jefferson, and Temple, and access to the nearly 150,000 healthcare jobs in the city, we can extend genuine hope to North Philadelphia families. Though we have great ambitions for our graduates, even the first step of an entry-level job at one of our industry partners could increase household incomes in Hunting Park or Tioga by 1/3 or more. The city urgently needs schools like the one we propose, both charters and traditional public schools, so that more students are launched toward rewarding careers in healthcare, which hold such great promise for lifting families out of poverty. As a school with a particular mission to serve communities of color, our students will develop an understanding of the enormous challenges our city and our nation face. For example, it's absolutely reprehensible that fewer African American males enrolled in medical school in 2014 than they did in the 1970s. And we know that racial and ethnic minorities in our nation have higher rates of chronic disease and premature death. Health Sciences Leadership students will understand these challenges and be prepared to address them during their important careers. In sum, we stand ready to pursue our important mission. We have targeted 4 of the city's poorest zip codes and focused on the right industry for our students' futures. We have also identified the right coalition of founders with backgrounds and influence in school leadership, philanthropy, and health sciences. In my remaining few moments, I just want to echo the comments of our first speaker, Ms. Akinodi, and other speakers tonight on the need for educators of color. That's why our charter application encompasses a human services pathway that includes a focus on the development of STEM educators in cooperation with the Center for Black Educator Development. We agree on the significant need for STEM educators of color. Thank you very much.
Monica Ricci.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on action item 48. I am a teacher at Alexander K. McClure, and I am in disagreement with the action of taking away our well-deserved and well-earned time off, both in April. I would appreciate if you can consider the following in making your decision tonight. This is unfair and unjust. The district decided not to relocate us when our entire situation occurred on December 19th. Not to mention that the district told us our school was in the clear for asbestos on December 6th. It wasn't until my building reps brought Jerry Roseman into the situation, and then the district deemed our school unsafe. My building reps asked for us to be relocated, but the district decided it would not be necessary and it would cost too much money. The district decided we should not report during the week of January 21st. This is not our fault. We were willing to report and or relocate for 3 weeks. It seemed that the district did not care about us, and they continue to not care because we weren't even given choices about how to make up these days. Yes, the students deserve instructional time. I 100% agree with this. It should be the district's responsibility to solve this problem, not punish their teachers. Week after week, schools are closing due to asbestos. They are getting relocated the next day. Why was this not considered for McClure? Because of their neglect and lack of funding, we have to suffer. We are counting on you and your support for tonight. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Ginger McHugh.
Good evening to the school board and Dr. Height. Thank you so much for your time tonight. At McClure Elementary, as you've heard, we've had a long journey. Throughout this journey, we as the staff have been dedicated in advocating for our families for safe conditions, conditions which have been allowed to deteriorate over the course of decades, conditions which have forced the closure at McClure without a relocation plan for up to 15 days and more. Now we, as the staff, are paying the price. Our calendar is being changed to provide makeup days for the lost instructional time. We were ready to work. We were asking for a transition plan. We were reaching out to families, sending them work for their children to do, and keeping our students engaged throughout the process of the closure. We were excited and prepared for the field trips that were provided for us. Never once was this a staff issue. This was a district issue and building neglect. This was a neglect of maintenance, which on a district level is a public health hazard. Why are you asking the teachers to pay for the neglect of our buildings? This schedule affects plans made by faculty, and we now have to shuffle and scramble for childcare, rearrange plans, reservations for trips, and develop other plans to accommodate for the abrupt change. We're frustrated, tired, and looking for the district to step up. On a personal note, I'd like to add that my classroom, Dr. Height, which you visited for the Ring the Bell ceremony in September, is now completely shuttered. I've had to transition my pre-K children out of the classroom, to which they have grown to know and love, to another classroom. And now we're moving again to a temporary space. We've now set up 2 spaces for them, spent countless hours overtime assembling these spaces, and now we have to do it again. I'm tired. The teachers are tired. This mandate that we at McClure have to stay open during the spring break due to the neglect of district buildings is taking a mental toll on some amazing and dedicated staff. Dr. Height and the board, we humbly ask you to approve our school calendar to remain as is with no additional time needed. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Erica Zimmer. And I'm going to ask the next group of 5 to please make your way to the front. Jason. Thank you. I appreciate it. Cheryl White, Jameel Bent, Joan Myers-Brown, and Rosalind Jones-Johnson. And thank you for that help.
My name is Erica Zimmer, and I am a first-year music teacher at Alexander McClure Elementary. I spent the first 14 years of my career performing and teaching privately before I decided to change careers and work pursuing my passion in music education. Never in a million years could I have expected my first year teaching to not just include the everyday stresses of being a teacher, but was also filled with nights of anxiety, stress, and confusion regarding the asbestos issues we have faced at McClure. I have watched while teachers with full teaching workloads spend hours upon hours advocating for our building to be safe. They spent their Christmas break working and being a voice for our students and staff when the district failed to do so. Now we have to continue our fight as the school district is requiring us to work during spring break, penalizing teachers with previous travel arrangements by making them take unpaid leave. We asked the district on December 20th for a relocation plan the day after our school was closed due to imminent hazards caused by asbestos. The district did not come up with a plan for us to relocate, and as a result, our students lost a total of 15 instructional days. The district knew the seriousness of the asbestos issues and declined to make the necessary steps needed to relocate. It feels as though McClure Elementary was the guinea pig in their planning for schools facing the asbestos crisis. While other schools continue to face the same trauma we did, they have been immediately placed in other locations. To add insult to injury, you are penalizing our teachers and staff by forcing us to work over a break that was in the calendar. I believe our students deserve to have makeup days, but not at the expense of our teachers and staff. We as teachers did not neglect to plan ahead for these asbestos issues, so why are we being punished by taking away our previously planned spring break? As a teacher, I am committed to fighting for my students and families to ensure they get an excellent education and safe learning environments and building. However, I shouldn't need to fight with my own district and administration to be treated fairly and equitably when it comes to the poor decisions that were made at our staff's expense. Having to live with the stress of not knowing whether or not I will be the next teacher diagnosed with cancers due to being exposed to asbestos in my school 20 years from now is enough. I humbly request that the school board strongly consider maintaining spring break for the McClure staff rather than forcing us to work during a previously planned break. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason Corsiniti. I'm the co-founder of String Theory Schools, and I'm here representing the interests of the founding coalition of Joe Myers Brown Academy. First off, I do want to clarify a couple of things from the charter school evaluation. With regards to the budget, as mentioned during our hearing testimony, the food service program is actually taken into consideration, but because that is managed to zero, it has a zero net income and it's not affecting the bottom line of the budget. I do want to mention that. Second, extracurricular activities are included in the budget. That's part of what the stipends for teachers were. Next, concerning the existing operator section, we are very proud and excited about our schools that String Theory manages, but I do want to mention that the performance of these schools are immaterial to application, and under charter school law, they're incidental in role, and it is not permissible under the law to deny a charter application based upon the success of other unrelated entities. Most importantly, though, I do want to address community engagement. We've been working in this community for a couple of years and have an enormous amount of support, including many elected officials, the registered community organization for the area, local residents, and thousands of parents. We are asking you tonight to approve this application, and I want you to know that we are open to further refining the catchment preference in the final contract to minimize the impact to other schools and to work with the community on its needs. We want to be responsive and supportive to the district needs, but it can't be a one-way street, and we need your input in order to do that. But I do want to convey that we are open to revisions in the final agreement. We have 4 registered speakers for tonight, but Cheryl White is unable to attend. Jamila Bent is up next. And Joan Myers Brown, due to preparing for an international tour, will not be presenting tonight. James Wilson is available in her place, but if that's not possible, that's understandable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. For speakers that are not here tonight can submit their testimony in written form. That's what's appropriate. Thank you. Jamil Bent, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jamila Bent. I'm here tonight as a member of Winfield Heights Civic Association, a resident, and a parent. We previously were not in support of JMBA String Theory's application until they came to our neighborhood and our civic association and addressed our concerns. I am pleased to say, as I sit here tonight, they have come to us, they've heard our concerns. They've heard concerns of increased traffic, opportunities for our neighborhood students, and more importantly, community engagement. we have now entered into a memorandum of agreement, Winfield Heights Civic Association, Park Plaza Condominium, and JMBA. I would like to share with you a little bit of my son, about my son, because I think it's important. My son leaves the house at 7 a.m. in the morning. He attends school about 8:15. After school, he attends a music program that lasts about 2 hours. His day ends at 5:30. He then travels back home, probably another 40 minutes for us to get home. With an opportunity like JMBA, he would have performing arts baked into his day. He would have a few minutes walk, and he would get more time to study and to be a child. That is a very long day for any kid. We are in support. We ask that you give our students in our neighborhood an opportunity to have a school that is local, that will provide a very good education, and that has the performing arts baked into it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Rosalind Jones Johnson.
This brings us to the end of our speakers on agenda items for consideration at this action meeting. Before we begin, I want to ask, we're going to group items and consider them on a consent agenda. If board members have additional items they'd like to have removed from the consent agenda, I'll ask for that.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I would request that item number 48 be removed from the consent agenda.
Okay.
I would request that item 45 be removed from the consent agenda just because I have one question. It's not because I'm not supportive of it. I just have one question.
Okay, so 45 and 48 will be removed from the consent agenda. So let's see if I can get this right. I'm going to be pulling out the student expulsion items, that's item 3, the charter items, items 5 and 6, personnel items 12, 13, 14, and then at the request just made, I'll be pulling out items 45 and 48. Those items I just identified will be considered separately. I will also be pulling out item 15, which is the contract for Teach for America, and item 16, which is the contract extension for the teacher residency program providers. Action item 1 is a review of proposed board policies, and there will be no action taken on it tonight. It will be considered for adoption at the March action meeting. The action items that are going to be voted on as a group are the following: items 2, 4, 7 through 11, 17 through 44, 45, 46, I'm sorry, 45.
No, 46, 47.
Okay. Wait a minute. Action items 17 through 44. And then 46, 47, and then 49 through 51. Okay, let me read that one more time. We'll be considering on the consent agenda action items 2, 4, 7 through 11, 17 to 44, 46, 47, 49 through 51. Okay, board members, can I have a motion to vote on those action items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions?
I just want to clarify, we're talking about the consent agenda.
Right.
Okay, got it.
The items I just identified. All right. Seeing no questions, Ms. Rout, please call the vote.
Thank you, and I will hope my math will be right through this. And I also understand there are a couple of abstentions. Board members, I'm now calling the vote on items 2, 4, 7 through 11, 17 to 44, 46, 47, and 49 through 51. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
I'm abstaining, well, yes to all, except I'm abstaining from action item number 18.
Thank you. Ms. Fix Lopez?
No to 25, yes to the rest.
Mr. Huang?
I am abstaining on number 10, and I'm a yes on everything else.
Thank you. Dr. McGinley?
I am a yes on everything but abstaining from action item 10, the acceptance of a donation from Temple.
Thank you. Dr. McIver?
Yes on all.
Thank you. Vice President Walker?
Yes on all.
Thank you. And President Wilkerson?
Yes, except I have to abstain on action item number 10.
Okay, so action item number 10 passes by a vote of 5 yes and 3 abstentions. Action item number 18 passes by a vote of 7 yes and 1 abstention. Action item 25 passes by a vote of 7 yes and 1 no, and the rest of the action items in that cohort pass by a vote of 8-0 because 1 board member is absent. Thank you.
The board will now vote on action item number 3, which is a student expulsion. Is there a motion for the adoption of item number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Rout, please call the vote on action item number 3.
Thank you. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next items to consider are action items 12, 13, and 14. These are personnel items. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? That was Mr. Walker?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Ms. Rout, please call for the vote.
Ms.
Please call the
Danzy?
vote.
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next item to consider is action item number 15, right? Which is a contract for Teach for America to support teacher hiring. Is there a motion to approve item 15?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions? Mr.
I don't have
Dr.
questions,
McGinley.
but I would like to make a statement. I want to begin by thanking the teachers and administrators who have dedicated years of service to the school district, who have come through the TFA model. And while I respect your service greatly, I do not respect the TFA organization. The model it uses or the alliances that the organization has with wealthy funders dedicated to undermining public education, undermining the rights of workers, and driving more and more toward privatization of public education. Teaching is a noble profession that requires a great deal of learning and preparation. Students who become certified in Pennsylvania are required to complete a rigorous course of study that requires more than 3,000 hours of coursework. These hours include content courses, the teaching of literacy, the teaching of math, courses in the sociology of the school and the classroom, working with children with disabilities, and supporting English language learners. 5 weeks of a summer workshop is an inadequate substitution. We need the best prepared teachers to support our children, teachers who are ready to deliver from the very first day. Over the last 5 years, TFA has been paid $500,000 for their services. For that $500,000, they've placed 70 teachers in the school district. Of those 70 people, 27 were people of color. Given the longevity rate of the TFA people that we have here in the district, we could expect half of those 27 to be here with us for 5 or more years. This is not a cost-effective investment. When the SRC was asked to approve the last contract with TFA, we were told that the additional contract was needed because the talent office was continuing to add staff. We are and have been fully staffed with 17 full-time recruiters in place, working to ensure that we have a qualified and diverse workforce. The people that are recruited by this team are nearly as diverse as those people placed through TFA. It is time to end our relationship with TFA, and I see no justification for this expenditure. I urge my colleagues on the board to vote no on this action item.
Are there any other comments? Mr. Wong?
I would just request that in light of all of the testimony on the importance of recruiting and retaining teachers, particularly teachers of color, I certainly support having lots of different channels for recruitment, but I think we need to have more retrospective evaluation and return on investment for the monies that we do outlay for different forms of recruitment. I would like to see that as a board member, and I would like that sort of information to be available to the public as well.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I'd just like to second.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
I'm sorry. I'd like to second what Board Member Wong has just said. I think, what he has said. But in addition to that, I'd like to see the residency model even more robust. I think that's a great model that is working for us. And I'd really encourage all board members to support the residencies.
Dr. McIver?
I made my opinions known at the Student Achievement Committee meeting, having worked and taught at the Elementary Math Methods course for TFA teachers for many years, and seeing the level of support that teachers get through their placement and beyond. I encourage board members to vote yes.
Are there any other comments?
Yeah, I just feel that at this juncture, even though we have an increase in our own recruitment group, obviously they have not been able to tap in. At this point in time, we need to, really I feel, not turn away from any source that can help us bring in the teachers, and particularly teachers of color. We are desperate.
Our recruiters are bringing us teachers of color. Our recruiters are bringing us teachers of color. And that there's a record, we all have the data, our recruiters are doing that.
Right, but we still are in need.
Are there any other comments?
I agree.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Rauch, please call for the vote. Please call the vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
No.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
No.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McColgan is absent. Dr. McGinley?
No.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Action item 15 carries by a vote of 5 yes, 3 no, and 1 member absent. Thank you.
The board will now consider action item 16, the contract extension for teacher residency providers. I've pulled out action 16 due to anticipated debate and abstentions. At this time, I move to break action item 16 into 2 parts. First, to vote on authorizing the district to spend up to $637,500 on the teacher residency program proposed in action item 16, and then to vote separately to authorize the district to enter into amended contracts with 4 entities in action item 16, each being paid from the total aggregate amount of up to $637,500. Doing this because there's so much, there's so much debate on some of these items, and because of the conflicts that some of us have. So first, I'll need a motion and a second to bifurcate action item 16 in the manner I just described.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, then we'll take the items in 2 parts. May I now have a motion and a second to authorize the district to spend up to $637,500 on the teacher residency program, with the entities to be authorized by subsequent vote? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Rauch, you want to call the... Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Rauch, please call the vote.
Thank you, Ms. Danzy.
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
I'm going to abstain from UPenn and yes to the rest.
You're voting just on the part of the motion to authorize the district to spend $637,500 on a teacher residency program.
Got it.
Individual entities will be voted on subsequently.
Got it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
No.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll now take up each one of the proposed residency providers individually. The first provider is enter into an amended contract with Drexel University to be paid out of the aggregate not to exceed amount of $637,500, which the board just authorized. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Rout, please call the roll.
Thank you. Ms. Danzy?
The vote.
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
No, this is just for Drexel.
This is Drexel.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Huang?
Abstain.
Thank you. Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
And President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next residency program to be considered is Relay Graduate School of Education. May I have a motion and a second to authorize the district to enter into an amended contract with Relay Graduate School of Education to be paid out of the aggregate not to exceed amount of $637,500, which the board just authorized.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions? Ms. Dr. McGinley,
I don't have any question,
you want to speak?
so I'll wait till my vote. Never mind. Good.
Please call the, if there are no questions,
I'll go now. Since I have
like a decisive.
Thank you. Relay's not a graduate school in Pennsylvania, and I believe that voting in favor of it is a violation of our oath, the oath that we took as board members to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
So I'll make a comment. I voted no previously, and I'll be in support of it this time. I think that I'd have a lot more understanding of the vacancies that we have, of what the residency programs are. I think they're valid concerns that Dr. McGinley brings up, but in this case in particular, I think it's a bit different than the TFA contract, and I would urge individuals to support Relay.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded, and Ms. Rout, please call.
Thank you. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
No.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item to consider is the residency contract with Temple University. Temple University, may I have a motion and a second to authorize the district to enter into an amended contract with Temple University to be paid out of the aggregate not to exceed amount of $637,500.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Ms. Rout, please call the vote.
Thank you. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Abstain.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Abstain.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
Thank you. And President Wilkerson?
Abstain.
Thank you.
That's the 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to announce all of it at the end.
Okay, but
Do you want me to go back and review them all for now?
no.
Okay.
The last is the contract, amended contract with the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania to be paid out of the aggregate not to exceed amount of $637,500. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Ms. Rout, please call the vote.
Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Abstain.
Mr. Wong?
Abstain.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes, and I'm supposed to vote before Dr. McIver.
We were getting
I'm
confused.
sorry, it's wrong in my special little chart here. I apologize. Vice President Walker
Yes.
and President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to summarize the votes. On the initial motion to bifurcate action item 6, that passed unanimously of board members present by a vote of 8-0. On the motion to authorize the funding, that passed by a vote of 7 yes and 1 no. On the vote for Drexel, that passed by a vote of 7 yes, 1 abstention. On Relay, that is 7 yes and 1 no. On Temple, that is 5 yes and 3 abstentions. And on Penn, that is 6 yes and 2 abstentions. So each of the motion subparts has passed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now consider action item number 5, applications for the new charter school, High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter. Before we begin the vote on this year's new charter applications, I'd like to take a moment to thank many people who've been working to bring us through this high-quality review of our new charter school applications. Christina Grant, Peng Shao, Berdiana Rodriguez, Roger Kligerman, Cameron Voss, and the entire charter school office for establishing and running this process. It's enormously complicated, and they bring extraordinary professionalism to the undertaking, and we do appreciate it. Elizabeth Gutman from our Office of General Counsel for her tireless work. Allison Peterson, our hearing officer, our applicants for putting together and sharing this year's applications, and for the many community members who've come out to speak or share their written testimony on this critical work. Your participation is invaluable. I want to thank you all on behalf of the board. Now may I have a motion and a second to consider action item number 5?
I move to deny the application filed for a new charter school to be known as High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter School, and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial.
Is there a second?
I second.
Board members and student reps, are there any questions or discussion?
I'd like to make a statement. Making sure I'm on the right school here. My confusion with the last one. Okay, so I'm fully in support of the focus on health sciences, internships, and dual enrollment programs to provide a pathway to careers in healthcare. This is not only a design concept that is valuable to the young people of Philadelphia, but it's also valuable to our healthcare providers throughout the city, potentially training a larger and more diverse workforce. However, I will be voting no to the High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter School. In order for a school as envisioned to work, it must be well planned before it has even a chance to be well implemented. The application does not indicate a strong nor complete plan. There are many oversights and weaknesses in the application. For example, the entire model relies on close relationships with institutions of higher education throughout the city, yet there are no detailed plans or agreements for how the institutions would work with the school and what internships, dual enrollment opportunities would be provided. In addition, the applicant has not made basic decisions about its program, such as whether or not it will pursue approval of its CTE programs through the Pennsylvania Department of Education, or if its programs will require its staff to have vocational certifications. There are also many other serious concerns regarding inadequate staffing and structure to support English learners and support students with IEPs. While I'm fully in support of a school focused on health sciences, for the reasons just mentioned, I must vote no. The application itself sounds like a science experiment. Additionally, I want to take this time to give a huge and sincere thank you to the staff and students of Kensington Health Sciences Academy for the work they are already doing around this exact same model. It is no experiment at KHSA. They have clear pathways for students to enter the health sciences post-graduation. They have 3 CTE programs: dental assisting, pharmacy technology, and health-related technology, as well as a major in global leadership. This spring, students from KHSA will take their skills to the Health Occupations Student Association Conference to compete against students from across the state. These opportunities link students to pathways, scholarships, and experiences to put them on the trajectory to a career in health sciences and to be leaders in the health fields. I want to give a sincere thank you to Principal Aaron for her leadership and the clear vision, plan, and pathways she has fostered, along with our team at KHSA. KHSA is not experimenting. They've found the formula to what works.
Are there any other comments?
I said it all, but, you know.
Don't let that hold you.
So I'll save.
Sorry.
Ms. Danzy, are you going to be speaking?
Yeah. I was just going to say, it's clear that we do need, health science is a fast-growing employment area for the city and for this country. And it means that we must increase our ability and expand for preparing our youth in this arena. However, we must ensure that what we do truly provides our youth with a solid educational opportunity in this field. And unfortunately, I feel that this application falls short in both the academic and experiential aspects, and as such, I must also vote no.
Dr. McGinley?
I would like to thank the teachers that are here from Kensington Health Science Academy and for the work that they've done, keeping everyone informed. And as someone who's lived in the K-12 world and the higher ed world, I would also take this opportunity to urge the leaders of our higher ed institutions to act with greater discretion when they offer support and endorsements for models that they may or may not fully understand.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Raup, please call the vote.
Thank you. Board members, I want to make sure there's no confusion with double negatives here. So a motion has been made and seconded to deny the new charter application of High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter School and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial. So when I call your name, you should either vote yes if you are voting to deny the application and adopt an adjudication, or vote no. Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Abstain.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes to deny the application and adopt an adjudication.
Thank you. Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
And President Wilkerson?
I'm abstaining. I work in the office of the Temple President, who has written in support of this, so I'll abstain.
Thank you. The motion to deny has passed by a vote of 6 yes, 2 abstentions. So the board has denied the new charter application of High School of Health Sciences Leadership Charter School.
We will now consider action item number 6, the application for new charter school, Joan Myers Brown Academy, a string theory charter school. May I have a motion and a second to consider action item 6?
So moved. Wait a minute.
No.
You got to read.
Oh, my God.
Okay. What page did we?
We're on page 26.
26. Okay.
Can somebody else?
I make a motion to deny the application filed for a new charter school to be known as Joan Myers Brown Academy and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members and student representatives, as I open this to question or discussion, I'd like to make a statement on this application. Pennsylvania Charter School Law requires us to assess many things in our review of new charter applications. These include whether the applicant has done the planning necessary to offer comprehensive learning experiences to all students, whether the applicant's proposed operations comply with applicable law, and whether the applicant will serve as a model for other public schools. This applicant has not met those standards for many reasons, which I hope we will describe in full in an adjudication reflecting the reason for this board's denial. I feel that it's important to highlight some of the reasons now. This applicant seeks to start a school that will prioritize admissions to students living in 3 West Philadelphia zip codes, 19131, 19151, 19139. The applicant's projected student population will be 18% students with disabilities, 75% African American students, and 70% or higher economically disadvantaged students. The proposed management organization for the charter school is String Theory Schools. Currently, String Theory operates 2 schools in Philadelphia. Those 2 schools have different outcomes. The Philadelphia Charter School for Arts and Sciences at Edmonds serves a similarly diverse student body in the same grade levels as the one the applicant hopes to serve at its new schools. At Edmonds, the academic performance for the school has declined over the last 3 years. Last year, PSSA results showed just 26% of the students reading at or above grade level, and only 10% doing math at or above grade level. On the school district's most recent school progress report, the school received an overall mark of intervene, which is the lowest score a school can receive. If this were a district school, we'd be talking about what interventions or changes need to be made to do better by the students at the school. This is clearly not a model that should be replicated in a new charter school, given the struggles that it's facing with charter schools it already operates. As the authorizer familiar with the operations of existing charter schools, we should not be approving a new charter school to be operated under this management structure at this time. I'll be voting to deny the application and urge my fellow board members to do the same. Board members, are there any other questions or comments?
Yes. I'd like to make a brief statement, although you did take some of my thunder.
I'm sorry.
She did take some of my thunder. Every decision that I make regarding any school is based on the belief that Philadelphia school children deserve high-quality schools that provide a high-quality education. As a Board of Education member, I will continue to evaluate applicants against criteria provided in the charter law to determine whether the applicant is meeting those requirements and specifically submitting a charter application that serves as a model for other public schools, which is taken directly out of the charter law. I believe that our children deserve the best, and we must be diligent and work to provide options that offer our children high quality and well-rounded educations. And for that reason, I will also be voting no.
Any other comments? Ms. Rauch, please read how we intend to take the vote.
Yes, thank you. Board members, again, a motion has been made and seconded to deny the new charter application of Joan Myers Brown Academy and adopt an adjudication in support of the denial. So when I call your name, if you are voting to deny the application and adopt an adjudication, you should vote yes. Yes to deny. Otherwise, you should vote no. Ms. Danzy?
Yes to deny.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes to deny.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes to deny.
Dr. McIver?
Yes to deny.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes to deny.
Thank you. By a vote of 8-0, the board denies the application of Joan Myers Brown Academy. Thank you.
The next, we have 2 items remaining for the action meeting of the board. Action item number 45, which is
The various vendors.
45 is a contract with various vendors for professional learning support in the amount of $2 million.
I just had a question, which is why I asked her just to pull it out. I know Dr. Malika Brooks, Savoy Brooks,
Thank you.
spoke about this earlier, but I wasn't clear about the total cost. And I asked the question about total cost, but I just want clarification about, is this the total cost of the entire summer institute, or is this the cost of a contract with a set of vendors?
My apology. I explained the total cost that we will have to pay. The $2 million is for our work with School Kit. I want to be more specific about what we're getting when we partner with School Kit, so I'm going to actually read, so I apologize for reading off the paper. But the OAS team, which is my team, is going to develop 4 days of content with School Kit for over 1,000 participants who will attend the June Leadership Summit. In June, 1,000 plus School District of Philadelphia leaders, teacher leaders, and the 2021 PD facilitators, who are our staff members, will participate in the Institute that will focus on the revised ELA and the new math instructional framework. School Kit is co-facilitating to ensure that we have enough facilitators to facilitate this professional development at this large scale. In July, School Kit is responsible for creating the materials for the 4,500 plus teachers and the 275 facilitators that we trained in June. They're preparing the materials to facilitate in the August professional development days, and then August we're training all of the teachers, the 4,500 teachers.
And the source of funds for the contract itself?
Is coming out of our operating budget in the Office of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment.
All right, Thank you.
So I just had the portion of the $2 million that goes to school kit is how much?
School kit is the $2 million.
$2 million
Yes,
is for school kit for the summer.
yes.
But I'm sorry.
But it's also include the, I'm sorry. It also include the materials. The school kit, the materials that we're using to train. So school kit, the services that school kit is providing is the co-development and co-facilitation. They're also responsible for the materials, supplies, all of that that comes with the PD, that we would incur that cost anyway. And then we're presenting in August.
But you had mentioned in your last statement that it also includes the pay for the district
No.
staff, so it does not include the
No.
pay. So that was incorrect?
When Dr. McGinley asked the cost, I listed all of the costs that we would have to pay for the leadership.
Understood. So in addition to the $2 million for this,
We have to pay.
you'd have to pay teachers in addition to
We have
that?
to pay 10-month employees.
10-month employees?
Some people involved in this are 12-month employees.
Yes.
And in the action item, it mentions with school kit, but underneath it says American Council on Teaching Foreign Language.
So the foreign, thank you. So the part of the foreign language is, we have a proposed partnership, which is, that's not a lot. I don't know the exact breakdown because I don't have it in front of me, but they're developing and training for world language and writing, doing the professional development, the framework, and the helping them the writing curriculum for world language.
So $2 million goes to school kit and school kit pays the foreign
No,
language, or?
that $2 million is for school kit and American Heritage in there, but the majority of the money is going to school kit. I don't have it in front of me. It's in the action item.
How is this different from previous trainings, like last summer versus this summer?
This is actually the first summer where we're doing the Leadership Institute. In previous summers, we've done summer institutes where we contract for summer institute and instruction for teachers. This is different because we want to ensure that the people who are responsible for supporting teachers understand the expectations for instruction and are able to lead the programs in the schools.
So just to board members, where I'm conflicted is I absolutely believe that your offices are understaffed for this, for the volume of what needs to be done and the number of individuals that need to be trained. But I don't feel clarity in knowing where this money is going and how it is divided, and maybe I could support it with clarity. And I apologize for maybe not asking the right questions previously because I think I misunderstood.
I agree. I feel like I didn't ask the right questions at the Student Achievement Committee meeting, and so I'm not really clear on this, and I don't want to stop progress going forward. I don't. You look like your head's going to explode, and I don't want that. I don't.
If there were a 1-month delay, does that throw everything off? Because I know we're getting close
Let
to
me
the
ask
summer.
that for Dr. Height.
Yeah, we can delay this until there's more clarity for the board around what this entails and break out the costs of, what I'm hearing is there needs to be a cost breakout of what goes to school kit versus what goes to the other vendor.
In addition, though, what creates new protocols and systems so that we?
I think we'll
retain
hold the
knowledge?
item, and board members will have a chance to identify concerns that they have, and then we.
I want to commend you, Dr. Savoy Brooks, because conceptually, this is the right thing to do, for sure, to make sure that the people who lead the schools, the people who evaluate teachers, the people who should be supporting and nurturing teachers fully understand the content and the curriculum. And I know that that's your goal. So that is absolutely the right thing to do. And thank you for getting this almost all together.
I agree. I don't want to cause delays or even just stress around this big initiative that we're trying to do. Really, truly, that was not my intent. And so hopefully 1 month won't mess it up. Yeah. Thank you so much. So sorry.
Dr. Hutt, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, or I guess request, that during the delay, whatever information or discussion would take place within the Student Achievement Committee so that it could be out in the public. That's the assumption that we're making as to the reason, the use
So
of
that
the
will be
next
on
month.
the 19th of March 19th, or do we need a briefing prior to that?
And can we get clear on what the board is requesting?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of what's needed in order to feel better.
We
about
can. Okay, we can write that up and
This
get it.
item
as soon as
then will
possible.
be withdrawn from this agenda and will, by the administration, and we'll consider it at our March meeting. Thank you. The next item for consideration is item number 48, which is the ratification of amendments to the 2019-2020 academic calendar at various locations. May I have a motion and a second to consider this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam
Yeah.
President.
Yes.
Or can we go straight to a vote? Yes,
There was a
It's
second.
been moved and seconded. We've heard a lot of testimony. If we can go straight to a vote.
Well, I requested for it to be separated so I could talk about it. I have some questions.
Okay.
You know,
why we're here.
I've been thinking about this. We're depriving spring break from a number of schools who have already endured hardship. Oh, just one? Okay. But just one who has already endured hardship. And I just want to get a sense of what was the district's analysis, and are there other options that would be available?
Thank you, and thank you for that. And
In
to the-
fairness to the administration, we had that discussion at the committee meeting, so.
But that doesn't deprive a board member from asking it at an action meeting.
Dr. Height, so
So,
we can
yeah,
move this, wrap it up.
So thanks for the question. And one of the things, I see all of the teachers here from McClure, and I thank you for the work. I do apologize that you had the type of year that you described. There were several considerations for this, and we were actually trying to work both with the principal, school community to define a time when, or to provide recommendations for the best time for young people to make up the time that they missed. We requested most of those days to be waived, but felt very strongly that there needed to be time within the school year, not at the end of the year, but within the school year for the children to make up that time, which then fell on the spring break calendar cycle. There were a couple of things that were indicated that I would like to give some clarification to. It wasn't a neglect of not having swing space and refusing to move McClure into the swing space. As we've been informing the board over a period of time, that through this whole strategy, we were trying to actually develop swing spaces in order to put schools in. The unfortunate part about McClure was they were one of the first schools that had to experience this, and at the time, we had no place that was sufficient for the number of students that they had at the school. Since that time, we have developed swing spaces, not as many as we would like, but swing spaces for other schools. So the recommendation was to ask PDE to waive some of the days because we had sufficient hours, but thinking about the time that students miss to make up that time during the spring break week. And that was the basis for the recommendation.
Would an alternative time frame be available?
I'm sorry?
Would an alternative time frame to make up the days be available?
If we vote this down, then the district will develop alternatives. But they've asked that we take some action so that both the school community and parents can have clarity on whether or not the spring break will be used. And so if we vote no, then the district will have to develop alternatives.
It just seems to me that it's hardship created by the district. If not this board, if not this board, maybe prior boards or school reform commission. But I just think that I hate to deprive them of the opportunity for a break.
I just say, because I hear and feel the teachers, and I remember as a teacher a similar situation where we missed 10 days of school for something similar, and we knew that we were going to have to make up those days, and we knew that that was going to have to come from somewhere, and it came from spring break, and it was a hardship, but it happens. I mean, it happens. And I think that maybe the conversation could have happened differently, but I encourage that we recognize that.
It has been moved and
Can't we come up with
seconded. Are
alternatives?
there any other? Is there
can't
any
we
other
come up-
comment? This has been
I'd
discussed
like to make one
at
more comment.
committee.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more of the bigger push that we're having right now for recruitment, for climate, for wanting teachers to stay, for wanting to be an attractive district. And for me, it's more of the issue of the treatment of the teachers. I absolutely understand the logistics and exactly what you're saying. But I think, personally for me, I'd like to take a stance and say, we have to work with our teachers throughout the process. Yes, McClure was a learning opportunity.
Are there any other
yeah.
comments?
Yeah, well, I got two things. One, I agree, even though, as you said, it was the first one and we didn't have the swing space. But I'm not so sure we didn't wait too long on the process. And I agree with you, though, they got to be made up. But on the other side of the coin, I got to tell you something. I have found usually when they don't want to do it and you make them do it, what you got a kid sitting in there and ain't nothing happening.
Now, I hear.
The other thing I want to ask, though, is I noticed there are a lot of things we're asking for in this resolution. Can some of those be pulled out and we can vote on those? In terms of their waivers, recommending to approve?
I think the district's preference
It's been
is.
moved and seconded, so we have to have a vote on what
Yeah.
he says.
Unless you want
That's
to
right. The
amend
district's
anything.
preference is that it be voted either up or down.
Okay.
And so with no further comment, Ms. Rout, please call the vote.
Ms. Danzy?
No.
I'm sorry, Ms. Danzy. Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
No.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
No.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
No.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
No.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
The action item fails by a vote of 3 yes and 5 no.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of our items to be considered as part of the action item meeting. We're now going to have speakers on general topics, and then after that we'll have a brief meeting of the IU. We have one item to consider on that agenda. And so now we'll hear from speakers registered on general topics. As a reminder, we'll be strictly enforcing the 3-minute per speaker limit. There's an electronic prompt. When the red light comes on, your time is up. Up to 4 speakers will address the board on each topic. Ms. Rout, please call the first 5 speakers.
President Wilkerson, if I may have 1 minute just prior to that, I just want to make a comment about a vote that I took.
Unless you're changing it, we don't need your comment right now.
May I have the comment after the speakers?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call the next 5 speakers. Please come to the front. Thomas Adams, please come to the table. Leah Clouden, Mama Gale, Kitty Height, Alexandra Hunt, and then Cecilia Thompson. Is Thomas Adams here? Okay, Leah Clouden? Okay. Mama Gale, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings. Leah and I just flew in last night from Atlanta, and it was interesting because we were there last week, and I went to an event. We went to an event.
Excuse me. If you're in the back of the room having a private conversation, please leave. We can't hear our speakers. Thank you.
We went to an event, and there was a young man who talked to my older daughter who knew me from Philadelphia. And when we got back to the airport, there was a young man who was assisting me that knew me from high school here. He looked familiar, and I asked him, where did he grow up? And he told me his schools. I asked that second. And he named his schools. And It was interesting because he said he remembered me and he hugged me. He reached out, hugged me, and kissed me, and just was so happy to see me. He was 31. So I'm saying that because I was thinking my specialty has been parent engagement, parent involvement, parent awareness. However, I've always built relationships with young people throughout all these years. I'm going back more than 30 years. So now they're parents and grandparents. And I just wanted to say, Dr. Height, we had a meeting before we came here. And I had asked that we have that meeting an hour before this meeting because I knew I would want to calm down. We were running late to get here because we had to go to the hospital. But when we got here, we had the meeting. And I just wrote a few things down because I wanted to put this in your ears. We invested a lot. I've not taken a contract, a dollar from this district in 8 years. And I've been investing for 8 years, money from our family. We created peace locations in Philadelphia schools, as well as Sayre Recreation Center. We created a best practice model that can be used all over the world. And we know, because that's how we ended up going to Korea to be with folks from all over the world, because people came and saw what we were doing. So to have the meeting that we just had, I'm sitting here and I'm so annoyed, for lack of a different word. We created spaces, and I've done this for over 30 years, involved for over 30 years, and we work to help teach and learn. And so I'm asking you, because this ain't just about us, that you look into parent engagement across the district, because accountability of administrators and staff needs to be checked. Dr. Height, I'm being asked to do something, and I'm willing to do it, but doggone it, we've invested a lot in this district. We have. And so to sit in a meeting that we sat in and hear what I heard, I'm not going to get into it because we left in an agreement. So I'm not going to get into it here, but I'm saying to you, Dr. Height, I was not happy. I was not pleased. I have too many relationships, not just in Philadelphia, but across the country and now the world. We can bring resources and to be put through hoops, and that's how I'm looking at it. And right now it's going to be probably a standstill. And I need, Karen met with us, and she did a great job, but I need to sit with you again. And I need to talk to you about this, because you are the one that said you shouldn't be spending your money for this, right? So I'm saying to you, even for a contract, I said I haven't been paid in 8 years. I haven't asked for a contract. I was supposed to work with a principal. We didn't talk about this. Karen, she don't know nothing about this. And when I talked to the principal about a contract, I was told no one got back to him how to do it. I believe, attorney, I think there are limited contracts, because that's what it used to be called. I sit here month after month after month and hear about thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions that's being paid out. I made good money when I did contracts with the district. And I'm saying to you, that's one piece, the contracts, to help increase parent engagement, parent awareness, whatever y'all calling it today. But the other
Thank you.
Leah Clouden, please.
Greetings. I asked my mom to go first because when we left the meeting earlier, I was very disappointed. As far as parent involvement or parent engagement, these principals honestly don't have a clue. And I realized that there's so much focus on these numbers. We already know that the academics across the board is low. So how are you focusing? Well, you're not focusing on increasing the numbers, not at the rate that we need, because everybody's failing, and it seems like they're failing at more of a rapid rate. But now it's just numbers for the pages and not numbers for the students' growth. And I said in the meeting that one thing about the adults in this administration, and not just the administration, across all the staff across the board, and I don't even care if it's custodial up to the top. I just realized that the adults are very selfish and inconsiderate. And these children, we as taxpayers, as stakeholders, we entrust this school district to do right by our community. We have young people that are being murdered at a rate that's ridiculous. And these are young people that are recently out of school. It can't be about the adults. It's definitely not about the children, but it can't be about the adults. I know that the teachers are worried about, of course, everybody's worried about their health. But you have to get back to the academics. These children need to learn. And the principal, and you know the schools that we're at, but you know the one that we had the most issue with, she still needs to be held accountable for her actions. If you could see the furniture, our furniture has been vandalized. You were in the space, and I would love to show you the pictures after this meeting to just show you what the main desk looks like. It's scraped marks all across the desk. We have broken tables. She has to be held accountable for this mess. She is the one that said the school district, it came from this building, they sent a moving crew to move our stuff out after she was told by Danielle not to remove, after Danielle told her staff not to remove anything out that room. They moved it out the room. When they put it in the second floor of the Rose building, stuff was destroyed. Chairs were stolen. Other things were missing. I want her held accountable. We don't have a problem with going back to Penrose because it is not about the principal. It is about those children who we all developed a relationship with. It's about that community that we developed a relationship with. She needs to be held accountable. She is not being held accountable. She's allowed to continue as business as usual. That school is a mess. It's a mess. A lot of our schools are a mess. We have to do better, but you have to hold the people that you know for a fact accountable. We can't keep having meeting after meeting saying that we're moving forward.
Thank you.
We have not finished with the problems that we had then, but every time we meet with somebody months later, it's been over a year, and we still got to say, okay, from this point we're moving forward. Yes, Ms. Karen Lynch, she is helping, and we are going to move forward, but that needs to be dealt with. And I will show you the pictures of how our things were vandalized, and everything was time-stamped because we kept going in month after month, and sometimes we set a time just to take pictures, just to show what the room looked like, and stuff was missing or destroyed.
Thank you. I believe we have one more speaker.
Is Kitty Height here?
Or is Cecilia Thompson here? Ms.
Right.
Thompson?
There's also Alexandra Hunt, I think
I'm
was
sorry.
next.
The Director of Operations with Philadelphia Phoenix Soccer League. We are referred to as Tri-County in your system. PPSL was founded this fall after a terrible incident with CASA Soccer League. I formerly ran the women's division for CASA and was subjected to sexual harassment, and another women's soccer player was victim to an assault. The perpetrator has stepped down from his position of leadership with CASA, but the league itself did little to amend these actions, are still allowing the perpetrator to play in their co-ed division, and shamed me when I tried to come to the defense of myself and this other player. As a result, many of the women's teams have left, and we play in our own league where we are both safe and respectful of one another. This past fall, I asked Yvette Solomon Johnson what PPSL could do to secure the Monday night field at South Philadelphia Super Site. She told me we could submit a reservation request immediately. I submitted it that day, October 14th, 2019. Yvette said she has no say in who the fields are rented to, and I would need the athletic director's office to say we had the field. On December 30th, 2019, Tiffany Murphy from the athletic director's office sent Yvette an email stating there were no conflicts with our reservation, and if Yvette would please support us in securing our reservation. On January 29th, 2020, I called Yvette to obtain her invoice for the field. She told me that 2 weeks prior to my phone call, CASA had submitted a field request for Monday nights at South Philly and was getting the field over us. I spoke with Tim Holman and reviewed your policies, which do not state how to resolve field conflicts. He stated that since there was no policy, it was Yvette's discretion, which was ruling in favor of CASA. We have teams who are unable to play if we do not play at South Philadelphia Super Site this coming spring. A week later, I reached out to Ralph Karp to point out that CASA Soccer League is in violation of one of the school district's procedures. CASA has opened up registration, and I counted approximately 45 reservations at South Philadelphia Super Site for this spring alone. The procedure I'm referring to limits the amount of time a non-school district user may use the field during a school year without requiring a license agreement approved by the School Reform Commission or the Board of Education. The full text of the procedure is available on that printout. Mr. Karp's response to my inquiry was to reiterate that the Office of Facilities would not be accommodating PPSL's reservation request. He seemed unable to address or provide a reason for CASA Soccer League's violation of the policies he was hired to uphold. Soccer is a sport in the city of Philadelphia that is struggling to maintain its presence and one that I am determined to not only help but grow. I believe soccer can be a source of positive social change and can facilitate unity between neighbors, classes, even a city. I'm currently enrolled at Temple University College of Public Health. I am writing a program proposal for Habitat for Humanity, and I am employed by Fox Chase Cancer Center. I am your colleague by association. CASA Soccer League believes in conquest. I do not share this belief. I believe in collaboration. Despite my personal grievances against CASA, I believe fully removing this organization from your facilities would be a blow to the soccer community of Philadelphia, which is a community I greatly care for. I am simply asking for your support in our Monday night reservation request at South Philadelphia Super Site so we can keep all women and teams interested in playing still playing and put a halt to this monopoly CASA is forming with the school district. We did everything expected of us to secure this reservation. This was inexplicably taken from us. Thank you.
Cecilia Thompson. I'm sorry.
Dr. Height, you were
No, I was looking for a staff member to talk with Ms. Hunt. Was it Ms. Hunt who spoke? Yes. I was looking for a staff member to talk with you just to get more information so that we can follow up on this request. We're actually working with the city to come up with a structure where we're using recreation and parks and the school district assets to determine how we can make our facilities more available to organizations like yours. And so could someone from staff talk with Ms. Hunt just to get more information? Thanks. Just one of you, yeah, anyone.
Ms.
Just
Thompson.
to get her information.
Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Last week at the Finance and Facilities meeting, I had suggested that for the upcoming community meetings for the CSPR, that there need to be somebody from transportation and special education to explain those things. I did receive an answer stating that there was no plans for anyone from transportation or special education to come to the meetings, but there was a reason for my request. When I attended the January 23rd and the February 6th meetings in my area, study area 3, there were some questions about transportation. The questions made it seem like the district is responsible for the 1.5 miles before transportation is submitted. Transportation is offered to a student. And I think in the beginning of those meetings, it can be on some materials. It needs to be stated that 1.5 for all 500 school districts is based on state law. Of course, the district can lessen that or increase that, but that the school district of Philadelphia is merely following those statutes, and this is not the district making up this 1.5 number. The number didn't come out the blue. So a suggestion is if somebody from transportation can't come out, putting this information in maybe a 1 or 2 pager and having it available to families at the upcoming meetings so everyone is clear where this 1.5 originates. And in terms of special education, again, when I attended the January 23rd meeting, when they were coming up with suggestions for consolidation, one individual actually said, hey, let's put all the special education students in one building. And when I passionately disagreed and said that the state would not go for that, the individual withdrew their suggestion. And also at the February 6th meeting where I was an observer, the materials stated that they did not understand why some special education students did not go to the schools, why some special education students that didn't live in the area came to these schools. And the answer would be is based on placement. I don't think they understand how the Office of Specialized Services does the placement for students with certain disabilities. So rather than have that as a question, a suggestion is in the beginning of the meeting, I'm wrapping it up, that the case manager for that area, the special ed director of that area spend maybe 5 minutes explaining how placement happens for children with special needs so that that concern can be off the table. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and listening to my concerns and my suggestions this evening.
You want to say?
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
You know a lot of this information, but Danielle can get you the information, Danielle Floyd can get you the information about the transportation and the routes. You're right about that. It is a state, we're following the state requirements behind that, unless there is a hazard or a hazardous intersection or hazardous route that we then would put young people on transportation services if it's a hazard or if there's hazardous intersection or large route.
I mean, I know that, but I think it's best if it comes from a district employee.
No, I appreciate that point.
I mean, the policy I'm looking at the policy, it just says following state law, and then there's provision, though, about transportation for children with disabilities, but that's a separate issue.
What I'm hearing you say, these are the kinds of issues that come up as communities wrestle with the issues that we're presenting, and that having folk from the district who can provide answers would help, in a context, would help the conversation. So we appreciate.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting at, because the people, they didn't know, and that's fine, because that's not their area of expertise, but if somebody could provide clarity, that will help out.
Thank you. I believe this brings us to the end of our speakers. On behalf of the board, I'd like to invite you to next month's committee meetings. The policy committee meeting will be held on March 5th at 5. Finance and facilities will be meeting on March 19th at 3, and our student achievement and support committee will be meeting March 19th at 5. All 3 meetings will take place in the board committee room downstairs, Suite 101. You can visit our website for the full calendar. Our next action meeting will take place in this room on Thursday, March 26th at 5. And before I close, just want to note that I want to congratulate Jerry Jordan on his reelection as the president of PFT. I know it was a hotly contested election, and we look forward to working with him in the coming years. Now want to adjourn this meeting of the Board of Education. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The action meeting of the Board of Education is adjourned. We'll now begin the meeting of the intermediate unit. Ms. Rauch, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Danzy?
Present.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Present.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Present.
Mr. Huang?
Present.
Dr. McColgan is absent. Dr. McGinley?
Present.
Dr. McIver is absent. Vice President Walker?
Present.
President Wilkerson?
Present.
Thank you.
Board members, before we proceed with the rest of the agenda, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2019, meeting of the intermediate unit?
So moved.
May I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. The minutes are adopted. We have one item for the intermediate unit, action item 1, a contract with various vendors, use of Act 89 grant for non-public schools. May I have a motion and a second to consider action item 1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll now take a vote on action item 1 for the IU. Ms. Rout, please call the roll.
Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of our IU meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The meeting of the intermediate unit is adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.